to it. It's fun about rom-coms.
Hi, folks. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jay Cardosi here at WLKY. Okay, we've got some strong and severe storms now getting ready to push into the western communities of our viewing area. We have the tornado watch that's in effect, was issued about an hour ago. This goes until 10 o'clock this morning. There's your line of thunderstorms extending from near Bloomington back off to the southwest, getting close to Jasper and Huntingburg, and then it tails on off towards the southwest to pretty close to the Paducah area. Now, within this line, we've got individual cells that are rotating, producing at least some very strong winds, and a few of them we have tornado warnings as well. Now, again, nothing in the viewing area just yet, but it soon will be. This is a nasty looking storm right here that is cruising into northwestern portions of Du Bois County up to near Martin County. If it holds together, it's going to clip into sections of Orange County as well as Lawrence County in Indiana. It's moving so fast. Meteorologist Suzanne Horgan running the radar this morning for us. This thing is hauling, Suzanne, what, 60, 70 miles an hour?
About 70, 75 miles an hour.
I mean, that's the forward speed of these storms, so winds could easily be clocked at that as that thing moves on through. Notice it's taking on a backward sea appearance. We call that a bow echo. It's a radar signature that tells us that there's some pretty strong winds embedded within this little line segment, especially the apex of the bow. And on top of that, we've seen some strong rotation. Reports of a tornado on the ground just off to the west of the viewing area, and it's showing up plain as day right there, a velocity couplet. In red, those are winds blowing towards the upper left-hand portion of your TV set. Green, the opposite direction. We've got that tight couplet right there, and this thing is cruising its way off towards the northeast very, very quickly. Looks like it's going to be holding north of Du Bois County, but soon move into Martin County, and then we're really going to have to watch closely where it goes after that, because again, you folks in northern Orange County, southern portions of Lawrence County could be under the gun for at least some very high winds and a potential tornado as well. Now, this line originated well off to the west, out there in sections of Missouri yesterday late afternoon. It's been holding together. This is a very powerful storm system, and you know that because when you walk outside and you don't have any rain, that wind is really blowing quite strong right now. That's the wind energy that is feeding some of these storms, and when you have that wind energy, the storms pop up. They can tap into that wind and bring it down to the ground in the form of a damaging straight line wind gust, and if we have rotation, a possible tornado. Look at this temperature right now, 71 degrees. Humidity's been slowly climbing, 53% with that dew point now in the low 50s. And a south wind 22, but it is gusting higher than that. For all practical purposes, things are still quiet here in the metro and will be for the next hour or two. But as we move through the day, we have that risk for some severe weather, not only early this morning, but again later this afternoon as another round of showers and storms will be moving through. A slight risk for the viewing area on a scale of 1 to 5, that's a 2. So again, not the highest, but I'll tell you what, the farther south you go, a rare high-risk category for severe weather has been placed in portions of Mississippi as well as Alabama. The Birmingham area, under the gun, Tupelo as well, under the gun for the possibility of very long-tracked, violent tornadoes a little later on this afternoon on into the early evening. That's where the big-time severe weather outbreak will be occurring later on today. For us this morning, we too have a chance for a few tornado spin-ups and some damaging wind gusts on a scattered basis as this line comes on in, and that's why the tornado watch has been posted for our region. And again, this goes until 10 o'clock this morning. So, Suzanne, a lot of energy out there. The line just now coming in. it could be a problem, especially for our friends in southern Indiana.
Yeah, certainly, and that's what you were talking about, Jay. Yesterday, we were talking about the overnight phenomenon, which is always terrible to have strong to severe storms during the overnight hours. Obviously, many people are asleep. If you're up with us this morning, you're probably a person who gets nervous during storms. So bottom line, right now, we don't have any warnings for our viewing area. That being said, the storm that we are watching the most closely is that storm that's kind of knocking on the door of Orange County, and that's the storm where we have a confirmed tornado on the ground. That's the one that we're going to be watching. It is pushing up to the north and to the northeast, so likely into Lawrence County, Orange County. Those are the areas that we're watching a little bit more closely. As this transitions later today, that is going to be when we're going to be watching for more of a heavy rain threat. Still some gusty winds out there. Even outside any storm, the environmental winds will likely be gusting 40, maybe 50 miles per hour. So we're going to be watching for that. So this is a multi-round event that we're watching. You can see that line, the severe line of storms that will continue to push up to the east, northeast as we make our way throughout the morning hours. So we have this morning event for us to get through. Then as we take you a little bit later into the day, it will transition to more of a heavy rain threat. Also with some wind, can't rule out severe storms later today, but certainly something that bears close watching for the morning hours. This is when I think we have our highest tornado threat, Jay, as that broken line of storms will move through. It really does try to break apart as it continues to push a little bit closer into, let's say, the Louisville area. But you'll notice as we head into the afternoon hours, then we're watching for additional shower and thunderstorm activity with that heavy rainfall. And what we've been seeing over the past couple of days, Jay, is really a line that's starting to develop. This model does not paint that quite as aggressively as what we were seeing a little bit earlier in the week. But I still think the bottom line is we're looking at that heavy rain threat and maybe some gusty winds.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's easily the threat for 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in spots here in our viewing area later on this afternoon into the evening as this next batch builds on in. And again, this will be the northern extent of that huge severe weather outbreak that's going to be ongoing well off to the south. So yeah, some very inclement weather. And don't forget, we've got the Derby City 10K going on in just a couple of hours at Slugger Field. Looks like we're going to be dodging some raindrops, at least for the start of that race. So if you're a spectator, a participant, just know, number one, it's windy. Number two, we could be looking at some showers and a few rumbles of thunder during that race. So once again, if you're just waking up, joining us, wondering what's going on, recapping what we were talking about yesterday, the day before that. Okay, the main threat is building in right now. The tornado watch has been posted for just about the entire viewing area. That goes until 10 o'clock this morning. The line of storms is off to the west of the metro and immediately west of the viewing area, but it is starting to impact our far western communities. And this right here, that is a very mean-looking bow on the radar scan right now. It is rotating. You can see it clear as day. There's a little comma head right there, and there's a tornado embedded within that. Now, within the past 15, 20 minutes, we did get a report of a large, dangerous tornado on the ground west of the viewing area, and we're not sure if it's still on the ground, but looking at the radar, one thing's for sure. High probability for damaging winds. Whether or not there's a tornado out there, a high probability. And you can see by the rotation detector here, the strong wind field running from just east of the Washington, Indiana area down through Jasper, Huntingburg, and then it curves back off to Boonville and points off to the south. So some very strong winds. Green are winds that are blowing towards the right-hand portion of your TV set. That's the leading edge of the high wind field that's likely causing some damage. There's the tornado right there. I can still see it. It's not quite as defined, but there is still some tight rotation showing up just off to the south west of Lagodi, and this is moving into the Martin County area, which is still just outside our viewing area, cruising its way rapidly off to the northeast at 60 to 70 miles per hour. So especially west of I-65, that looks like the highest threat for some severe weather on a scattered basis over the next couple of hours. I think once we get past 7, 8 o'clock this morning, things will wind down. Suzanne showed you that that future cast, as the line was coming in, it was also tending to weaken as well. And we think that trend will continue. Forecast rounds of showers and storms. The first one entering the picture this morning. Another one later this afternoon tonight. And temperatures will be in the low 70s. Tonight, that rain is going to be ending later on, not before it produces several inches, though. We'll drop it back into the low 50s for those overnight lows. And tomorrow's a much cooler day. The good news about tomorrow, will be behind this storm system, so any and all threats for heavy rain, severe weather will be out of here. All right. Plenty of warnings showing up in orange that are flashing. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings for some damaging straight line wind gusts, scattered gusts that could be in excess of 60 miles an hour. And then you have the tornado warning that has been extended now up into portions of west central sections of Lawrence County. What's the latest on that,
So,
Suzanne?
and Jay, I want to let you know that we have now gotten a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of the WLKY viewing area. You can see that has just been expanded here. So they have decided to go with a severe thunderstorm warning. They did have some reports into sections of Du Bois County of winds of about 60 miles per hour. So that was a confirmed wind gust of 60 miles per hour with that storm moving through Du Bois County. So now if you're in Orange County, if you're in Crawford County right now, it's not even raining. You're probably obviously hearing some of those gusty winds out there, but the warning has been issued out ahead of this line that will continue to push in to the WLKY viewing area. So moving east at about 55 miles per hour. And Jay, what I think what we'll do is I'm going to take some of these warnings off here and just let you track some of these storms so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. So we're going to take the warnings off at this time, but kind of track these storms as they're moving into the WLKY viewing area and give you a better idea of when they're going to be coming into your neighborhood. So we're going to go ahead and track this kind of whole line because this is the line that we are watching the most closely. It's moving about 55 miles per hour. So something to consider when you see the storms moving that quickly, that also adds some momentum to those winds as well. So that's what we're going to be watching. So I think probably a pretty decent wind gust. Do you want me to read those off for you? I think it's you've been up all night. So it's Du Bois right now, Ferdinand at about 4:38, Ellsworth at about 4:42, Patoka Lake at about 4:45, Riceville at about 4:46.
You were just being kind to me, being up all night. I'm just getting old. I can't see him anymore. That's the bottom line. Yeah, now, all kidding aside, this is a powerful line of storms that is producing some wind damage in spots. So, again, if you're watching from Orange County, you now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Same can be said down into Crawford County. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And then into Washington County as well. So, and this line is racing off to the east-northeast. So that's why Suzanne was saying, you don't even have a drop of rain, you're under a warning. Well, it's rapidly racing in your direction. So get ready for some very strong winds. Already gusty out there, but those winds will pick up even more so here in Orange County, Washington County, Crawford County, and again, up near Lagodi. This is immediately west of Martin County. We've got still some rotation, some tight rotation. That was at one time a large, dangerous tornado that was on the ground just west of the viewing area, and that is cruising towards western portions of Lawrence County. So if you are just west of Bedford in Lawrence County, west of Mitchell, for example, a tornado warning in effect for your area, so get into your place of safety. Look at this area of brighter green right here, and you can see that is the leading edge of the very high wind field, now moving into eastern sections of Du Bois County. Suzanne's kind of pinging some winds that are upwards of 50, 60, almost 70 miles per hour. And we got ground truth on that too, right? We had some
winds of 60 miles per hour reported in Du Bois County. In fact, the National Weather Service with this particular warning has put a tag on it. Obviously a tornado possible because we have some of those stronger winds and some rotation that has been exhibited. But what we're also going to be talking about is winds potentially reaching 70 miles per hour, Jay. So that is an additional concern in addition to obviously the tornado threat. So we are watching watching this line. This is a nasty looking line moving through. And now we're seeing a little bit more rotation, it looks like, showing back up here, perhaps, Jay, right on top of Lagodi. That's outside the viewing area, but it is knocking on the door of Lawrence County and Orange County. So I think with the track of that, it would be more likely to be an impact for Lawrence County.
Can you put a small track on that?
Yeah,
just the rotation part. So again, we still have a tornado warning for that tight rotation. I will say this, the rotation has weakened somewhat, but in this type of a situation, folks, I mean, a tornado could dip out of this thing at any time because there is so much wind energy in the atmosphere early on this Saturday morning. Now, we're tracking the most dangerous part of this bowing segment where there could be the tornado. You can see the brighter shades of red, almost pink right there, kind of butting up with the green. So there's your rotation right on top of the Lagodi area, moving quickly off to the east-northeast. Mitchell about 5 o'clock in the morning. Same with Olytic, Bedford, if it holds together, around 5 a.m. down to around 5 to 10 minutes after the hour in Heltonville. And again, we'll have to watch even portions of Jackson County if it holds together, because boy, that is one powerful, what we call comma head of this bowing segment. And if there are going to be additional tornadoes that pop out of this little line segment, it's going to happen from that guy right there as it moves quickly off to the northeast. To the south, we're looking at a wavy line of storms, and any one of those little backward C can easily produce some pretty powerful winds as they move across any one location.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to take off some of the watches right now just to give you kind of a clearer view of exactly what we're looking at. I realize it's kind of messy looking because we have so many warnings. So actually, I think I'll even take the severe thunderstorm warnings off for just one moment just to kind of further refine that area that Jay is talking about. This is the area that we're watching very closely for the potential of a tornado that would be pushing into Lawrence County. So again, that's something that bears watching. If you're just waking up and you're just joining us, what we are watching here in the WLKY viewing area, and it's not really even raining very much in the WLKY viewing area, but you can see that kind of interesting shape where it's orange. So that is into Washington County, it's into portions of Crawford County, and it's all over the entirety of Orange County. This is for the potential of some very strong winds. As we were kind of dissecting the storm for you, really picking up some pretty decent winds out there. I'm going to take the warnings off for you briefly and just zoom in a little bit more closely and show you what's happening. With just the winds, with taking the rotation out of the equation, you can see certainly some very strong winds are showing up here. And this storm system does have a history of producing winds upwards of about 60 miles per hour. So that's going to be pushing in. This is your warning time for Orange County. If you're in French Lick, you're in West Baden, this is when you need to get prepared because it is going to be rocking and rolling in your area in the next couple of minutes.
Suzanne, is that base velocity you have?
That's base velocity. I can put the relative velocity on for you really quickly and just take a quick look at that. We're not seeing a ton of rotation in this particular line at this time. Nothing that's really kind of screaming out at you. There's what we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Right there is what I see as far as maybe a tight couplet, and that's what's left over of the tornado that was on the ground. And you can see the brighter shades of green right here. This is what we call shear, or twisting and turning, dangerous twisting of the winds that could be occurring, and that shear quite strong right now across the length of Martin County, and especially here on the eastern flank of Du Bois County. This is what's cruising into Orange and Crawford County. So as Suzanne was just talking about, you know, any areas near Patoka Lake, West Baden Springs, Paoli, Orangeville, down to English, for example, get ready. I mean, some very powerful winds will likely sweep through your region. More gusty than what we have right now, certainly, and these could be winds that could cause some damage. The leading edge of this bowing segment that's rapidly racing east. So we're talking rolling right about now. French Lick, 447, the leading edge will move through your area. West Baden Springs about the same time, about 10 minutes before the hour. Greenbrier, as well as Orangeville in sections of Orange County. And beyond that, it'll be cruising on into sections of Jackson County and Washington County. The storms indeed will make it to the metro, no question about it. It's just a matter of how strong are they going to be by the time they get to the metro. Don't forget, we have that Derby City 10K going on, the second leg of the Triple Crown of running. A lot of folks, thousands of people participating in that, and be out and about, and we've got this storminess that's going to be working in. So just know that could cause a problem. That could cause a delay anyway if these storms are still powerful enough. But notice the futurecast kind of breaking this activity apart. I mean, the data has been suggesting this for days and days and days. A powerful line as it approaches 65 kind of starts to fall apart this morning.
Yeah, and I think you were mentioning over the past couple of days, and Mo Rose is here also mentioning that the area that we were the most concerned with, certainly those areas to the west of Interstate 65, and that seems to bear truth this morning. The area that we were obviously watching for, the tornado threat. I think everyone obviously has the heavy rain threat, and everyone has the gusty wind threat. Even a little bit later today, even just the environmental winds will likely be very strong. So as we head a little bit later, you can see we're going to be watching for another batch of heavy rainfall. We know a lot of people are going to be headed out this afternoon and this evening, obviously watching some basketball games. So we're going to be wanting you to be really careful as you're driving around tonight, because we're going to be looking at that heavy rain threat. You know the drill. We're never going to drive through any standing water out there. So just please be mindful of that as you're headed out. Then tomorrow, we're going to usher in some much cooler air. It still stays breezy, but temperatures are going to be returning obviously much closer to normal with those highs in the 50s. And we were talking about the windy weather. You can see kind of that shake of the camera. I'm going to take a look at a couple of Trimark cameras just to show you what's happening. You can see in the metro, we still have dry skies at this time. That's a look at the Lewis and Clark Bridge. So we're in good shape here in the metro. As far as our conditions, it is warm. It feels like springtime, certainly out there. We have temperatures coming in at 71 degrees. Look at the wind, to that sustained wind of 22 miles per hour. Likely we'll be dealing with gusts higher than that. As we make our way throughout the balance of your Saturday, we are still under that slight risk category. And I know Jay and Mo have been talking about this over the past couple of days. The bullseye certainly for today, with the potential of long track tornadoes right through areas of Mississippi and Alabama. So obviously a very dangerous situation, setting up shop farther down to the south. For our interest, we continue to have that tornado watch that goes until 10 o'clock this morning. We're watching for a gusty line of shower and thunderstorm activity moving through the WLKY viewing area. Our primary concern at this point, moving into sections of Orange County, Crawford County, that's where we're seeing that line of very strong storms, putting French Lick, Paoli, Orleans, Campbellsburg, all of those areas kind of under the gun as far as seeing that severe weather threat. So we're going to go ahead and kind of take all the warnings off and get down to brass tacks here, show you what's happening here right a little bit closer. Looks like we might be picking up a little bit more rotation in a couple of areas. So let's go ahead and check that out and check out some of the winds here, Jay.
Okay, there you are looking at the velocity field right now. Green are winds that are blowing towards the right-hand portion of your TV set. Red the opposite direction, and we have this long shear zone right here. And again, you can see some brighter red, brighter green right there off to the northeast of Lagodi. That's what's left over of the tornado, and that is moving off towards the northeast. Quickly, we'll be approaching western portions of Lawrence County here shortly, so don't put down your guard. Once we have a severe storm and the wind energy is still present in the atmosphere, the chances for that same thunderstorm to produce additional severe weather is quite high, okay? So even though the rotation may be weakening somewhat, it could come back, especially in a situation like this. There's your leading edge of your very strong wind field through French Lick, heading towards Paoli, down to near Patoka Lake, and just off to the west of English. We're talking winds easily 60, maybe 70 miles an hour, straight line winds. And that's showing up nicely there where you have the change of color from red to green. Meteorologist Suzanne Horgan pinging some of the winds that could be 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour. These things are moving at what, 60?
55 miles per hour. And also, we're going to be watching for some power outages. Some of those have been reported. Mo, I think you have something to add?
Oh, no, we're just watching some of that rotation that was developing over, looks like that just north of French Lick. And this thing is just flying, Suzanne.
Yeah, and in fact, they just issued a tornado warning, Mo, for that area that we're watching closely here. So let's go ahead and put those warnings back on, Mo, as you were pointing out some of that rotation. Now, this is radar indicated. You can also see that little couplet that's showing up here, just an idea of some rotation. Jay, I think you had eyes on that. Mo, you were also watching that one really closely for the potential. This is in northern Orange County. Again, we have a tornado warning now. This is a radar indicated. I'm going to take the severe thunderstorm warnings off so that you can see this a little bit more clearly. This is the area that we're now watching. This is in northern Orange County where we currently have that tornado warning.
Yeah, so here's U.S. Highway 150 right through Paoli and then up to Orleans as well, the French Lick area. So watching from French Lick, Paoli, Orangeville, Orleans, over towards Campbellsburg, and just north of Salem, Kossuth, for example, McKinley. All you folks are underneath a tornado warning. This storm is flying off to the northeast. You won't have a lot of time to get to that place of warning, so don't dilly-dally. Get there right now. Of course, that's a basement, safest spot to be. If you don't have a basement, middle of your house, interior room, put as many walls between you and the outside to help slow down any and all flying debris if it is occurring. So a tornado warning, radar indicated, from that rotation that's showing up on the Martin Orange County line, moving very rapidly off towards the northeast. An additional tornado warning farther off to the northwest central portions of Lawrence County. And you can see the powerful winds right here. Some rotation, dangerous twisting of the winds ongoing all along this change of color from red to green. That's a high shear axis where not only is there going to be straight line wind damage in spots, but possible tornado spin-ups as well, especially with the wind energy we have in the atmosphere. What I mean by that, you go up just about 1,000 feet in the atmosphere, the winds are howling from the southwest at speeds of 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. So it won't take much for a storm to tap into those winds and bring them down to the ground. Please be in your place of safety. A tornado warning in effect, and it is likely very close to the Orangeville area right now, moving its way rapidly off towards the northeast, getting very close to Highway 37 north of Paoli. So anywhere from Paoli north to Orleans, and then off to the east from there, be in your place of safety and stay there until the danger has passed. Boy, an intense storm, guys, moving across our northern communities.
And winds certainly very, very strong. And we were talking about, Mo was pointing out just the speed of this particular storm moving at 70 miles per hour. So this is a fast-moving storm. Let me go ahead and do a track on this for you as it moves through Orange County. And so you can see right near Orleans at about 452. Let me see. Campbellsburg at about 501, Kossuth at 508, Plattsburgh at 509, Millport at 509 as well. So again, a tornado warning now for Orange County. So you can see this does also extend into northern Washington County. This storm system, Jay, you have been watching this since it was back across portions, really into Illinois that we were watching this storm.
Yeah, I mean, this thing originated way out in western portions of Missouri earlier yesterday. It just gathered strength and energy, really started to produce tornadoes. Tornadoes on the ground across portions of Missouri, on into Illinois, down into Arkansas. This is what's left over. Now, the tornado threat is still alive and well in spots. I expect that to continue to diminish as we move through the morning, becoming more of just a straight line wind threat. And this is a decent threat just because of how much energy there is in the atmosphere. You can see this well-defined what we call bow echo. Notice how it's shaped like a backward C right there. A bow echo, and on the leading edge of that bow, that's where the highest winds are located. And sometimes you can get quick tornado spin-ups. And that's what's happening. As a matter of fact, that is starting to shape up nicely now near Highway 37 between Paoli and Orleans. Suzanne, that looks very suspect right there.
Yeah.
That little rotation, and also another one holding up near Williams.
Yeah. That one looked a little bit more well-defined than the one here, just right along 37 here in the Orleans area. So you do not want to let your guard down here. I took the warning off just so you could see it a little bit more clearly. Let's go ahead and put kind of that shear tracker on it. And this gives you an idea of what's going on inside that storm here, where we're seeing that rotation, and where Jay, of course, has pointed out. This is right in between Orangeville and Orleans, so right along 37. So certainly this is something that we're going to watch closely. We're seeing rotation showing up right near areas of Paoli, near Syria, Mahan Crossing. We're seeing some of that rotation as well.
Yeah. This is a powerful storm, no question, causing straight-line wind damage and a possible brief tornado as well, especially on the northern side of that Boeing segment. Very heavy rainfall also is accompanying this entire storm segment. A lot of lightning and thunder. And Suzanne, if I saw right, I mean, maybe a little bit of hail? Yeah, it looks like a little bit of hail, not a ton. But this is our hail tracker, and this will show you kind of the swath of hail that has been showing up. And we're going to look for maybe some hail. That's right. Not a ton. That was not really the primary concern for this evening. I think for our overnight hours, that's where we have been looking for that strong wind threat, and also, of course, that tornado threat as well. So this is our wind velocity showing right on top of Bedford. Also some pretty healthy winds there as well. So again, that's near Bedford that we are seeing winds of about 55 miles per hour there. And of course, that tornado warning that we're watching closely also for sections of obviously Orange County moving into portions of Washington County in relatively short order. Yeah, and the new tornado warning has just been extended farther off to the northeast from Bedford and points north into Lawrence County for that rotation that's very close to Silverville. So the bottom line, really anywhere from Lawrence County south on into Orange County, on into Crawford County, this line segment, if you are out ahead of this thing, you need to be on the lookout for powerful winds that are heading in your direction, number one, and there could be brief tornado spin-ups, at least for the next hour or two, because of all the wind energy, and that's why we've got these short-lived tornado warnings that have been issued by the National Weather Service, to include Paoli, Orleans, over towards Kossuth, the Bedford area, and points off to the north. South of there, severe thunderstorm warnings cruising into the viewing area, western portions of Breckinridge County. We've got Perry County. Soon it will be Harrison County. These will likely reach the metro probably within the next 30 to 60 minutes. And it looks like, Suzanne, another tornado warning holding just off to the southwest of Owensboro outside our viewing area. And that's just outside the viewing area. We were talking about the warnings that have also been issued. So now we have new fresh warnings. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. Crawford County. We also have this now for northwestern Breckinridge County. Those warnings will continue until 5:30 this morning. So those are the severe thunderstorm warnings. The tornado warning that we're continuing to watch for Orange and Washington County continues until 5:15. Obviously, we're staying on with you until any warning has been canceled. So our show starts at 5 a.m. So we're just going to kind of blow through that and talk a little bit more about what you need to know, because these storms are racing through. This has been a well-advertised storm system. We had a number of confirmed tornadoes across portions of Missouri and Illinois. This has been a very dynamic storm system, and one that certainly bears close watching across some southern communities later today for that heavy rain threat. But right now, we are watching for a tornado warning for Orange County, for Washington County. Then we have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings that have also been issued farther downstream into Breckinridge County, and also portions of Crawford County. We have those severe thunderstorm warnings that do continue. So this is a nasty line. I'm going to take the warnings off just so you can see. It's really busy on the radar here. So you can see that well-defined line that's continuing to move through, and that
little circle right there that Jay is pointing out up into sections of Lawrence County. That's where we have right now that tornado warning as well. So that's where we've been seeing really strong winds, Jay.
Yeah, and this thing has been long-lived. I mean, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see additional tornado warnings issued for that little curlicue, if you will, as it moves quickly off to the northeast. So if you're just now joining us, here we are a little after, just about 5 o'clock this morning, I should say, 4:58 to be exact. On this Saturday morning. Good morning to you. Here's what's going on. We have some powerful storms shifting into the WLKY viewing area, most of which are now here in southern Indiana. That's where we also have a tornado watch, not only for southern Indiana, but the Commonwealth in our viewing area. This goes until 10 o'clock this morning. Possibility of storms that could contain damaging straight line winds on a scattered basis and even a few tornado spin-ups, and you can see the warnings that Suzanne just painted on. The pink one, that means that there was actually a tornado spotted or on the ground, all right? And that's the one that's moving across portions of Lawrence County. That's the strongest rotation I can see on the radar. We have additional tornado warnings for northern Orange County on into northern portions of Washington County, north of Salem, for example, for some weaker rotation, but nonetheless it's there. Rotation that could cause damage, wind damage as it rolls on through. Farther off to the south, I know the line looks quite discombobulated, if you will, but there's so much wind energy in the atmosphere and just off the deck, just off the surface, that these storms are tapping into that and bringing it down to the ground in scattered spots along the front edge of that line. So we're no doubt going to have that potential for winds easily 60 miles an hour, maybe a little bit higher in spots. Again, scattered locations along the leading edge of this line of storms. Here's the metro. We're still in the clear for now, but the line of storms is getting closer and closer, probably about an hour out or so. And again, a lot going on in the city this morning as we've got the Derby City 10K going on. So a lot of runners, a lot of folks are going to be out and about. Suzanne is tracking broad brush, the leading edge, moving quickly off towards the east. It should be impacting places like Valine and English and Campbellsburg here a little after 5 o'clock. And of course, it's going to be moving towards Salem. It'll be moving towards places like Brandenburg, Corydon, and even the metro as well as we get over the next 30 to 60 minutes. As it comes across any one location, any of the more powerful cores will have that potential to produce those 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and even a quick tornado spin-up. That cannot be ruled out, especially here on this northern, what we call Boeing segment, and a couple of other segments that are actually holding farther off to the west-southwest in between Henderson and Owensboro. So we're about 46 miles away now, that storm is, and the leading edge, and moving quickly, about an hour out.
About an hour out, Jay, as you were mentioning. So if you're just joining us, you normally would watch our 5 o'clock news broadcast. Let's get into exactly what's happening as you're waking up. We have a number of tornado warnings. We have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. Jay has been tracking these storms all night long. Mo Rose is also tracking these storms. We're going to be watching for this line that's racing into the WLKY viewing area. In fact, we have a tornado warning for Orange County. This is for northern Orange County. It's for northern Washington County. We also have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings that we're watching. Those include areas of Washington County, Crawford County, and Breckenridge County. For this line, a very dynamic storm system moving through with a history of putting down winds of 60 miles per hour. There have also been a number of confirmed tornadoes a little bit farther to the west, not in the WLKY viewing area. However, this line of storms has a history of producing very powerful winds and and in excess of about 60 miles per hour. So we have a number of power outages that have been reported downstream of this line. So bottom line, we are going to be watching for a very feisty line of storms moving through the WLKY viewing area as we take you through the morning hours. If you're waking up in the metro and you're saying it's just windy and warm out here, we are watching for this broken line of storms that will continue to make its eastward progression.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about, this is round one. Round two arrives a little bit later on today into tonight. A threat for a few strong to severe cells with that second round, and also a very heavy rain threat. Many spots could get several inches of rain tonight, so we'll be watching for
Jay,
that. Yeah,
they've extended, it looks like, also into sections of Clark County. Mo, are you seeing that too, extending the severe thunderstorm warning into Crawford, Orange, and Clark and Scott counties too? So I think they're just, don't you think that they're just going to continue?
Just because it's moving so fast, this storm is just incredibly quick, and we've got winds gusting, and at least from Kentucky Mesonet's showing gusts up to 60 miles per hour that were just out to the west of the viewing area. And so this is heading our way, and I can see them warning ahead of the storm pretty quickly. And yeah, you're an hour, maybe even less at this point, as fast as this is moving towards the metro.
And I think this is probably a good call. If you're a person who has the WLKY app, you have those warnings on your phone. This is letting you know out ahead of it before it's actually on top of your area. So they are putting those warnings out ahead of that line. So obviously in Scott County, into portions of really northern Clark County, you're not even seeing any rain right now. So you're maybe hearing the warning go off on your phone and you're saying, what's going on here? That's what's going on. The warnings have been issued out ahead of that line. The only tornado warnings that we have right now are for areas of northern Lawrence County and also for Orange and Washington counties. That's where you're seeing that red shade. Now you'll notice that we don't have any of those pink warnings showing up. When you see a bright pink warning, that's where you have a confirmed tornado. These are all radar indicated tornado warnings that we have at this time. We have not had any ground truth of any tornadoes in our WLKY viewing area. That being said, it's been in the middle of the night and early in the morning hours, and it's dark out. It's hard to get storm reports in the middle of the night and the early morning hours when it is pitch black.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's recap. Let's kind of start over. If you're just joining us, Suzanne, let's pull out, take a look at the viewing area here. All right, starting off with the tornado watch. It goes until 10 o'clock this morning. As that line passes any one location, that'll be it for your severe weather threat. So again, if by chance you're watching from, let's say, western portions of Du Bois County, your threat is already done. It's out ahead of you. It's off to your east. So once this powerful line moves across any one location, that'll be it for the severe weather threat for the morning, round one, if you will. But you can see everything moving quickly off to the east, northeast. In orange that are flashing, severe thunderstorm warnings. In red that are flashing, still tornado warnings. And we have a tornado warning that remains in effect for northern portions of Lawrence County, up around the Guthrie area. And for good measure, that is still a very well-defined what we call calm ahead. It's on the northern flank of this Boeing segment, and typically that's where tornadoes spin up, just because of the sheer difference in wind speed. All right, and then we have the powerful winds that continue in those thunderstorms off to the southwest. The Futurecast continues to show this line of storms. What model run is that?
Because the HRR. Let me just double check. It should be the latest from, let's see, hold on.
That just looks a little underdone to me, too, considering what's going on there. But the latest computer model data was suggesting that this line was going to start breaking apart somewhat. And yeah, I mean, it still does that as it approaches I-65. But again, you have to remember that even these individual cells that might pop up ahead of the line or what's left over of the line, there's just so much wind energy that we could still see a strong wind gust. in anything that comes across an area.
Yeah, and you can see as we make our way into your afternoon hours, this is going to transition into not only the gusty winds, and sometimes, Jay, as you know, when we get really heavy rainfall, that can sometimes help to bring down some of those strong gusts. I think we're going to see several hours of pretty healthy rain moving through the WLKY viewing area, so that is certainly something that we're going to be watching very closely. So, again, we're going to be looking at the potential for some pockets of heavy rainfall as we make our way throughout the morning hours. Jay was talking about that line breaking apart a little bit as we take you through the morning hours. So again, some of these storms still could be packing a punch as they move through with that broken line. So it will be a little bit less widespread. However, look at what happens as we head later into your morning hours, into your afternoon hours.
Yeah.
That heavy rain threat then redevelops. Still some gusty winds possible with that storm system, and maybe some flooding concerns. But I think when we're talking about this morning, certainly we're looking at the threat of strong to severe storms. We've had a number of warnings. We've had damage reports of power lines down in many locations. Let me put those warnings on to just kind of recap for you. So we have a couple of tornado warnings for Lawrence County, also for Orange County, as well as into northern Washington County. And then out ahead of that line, as Mo was talking about, into portions of Washington County, into portions of Clark County, and into Scott County, out ahead of that line of storms, we have now had additional severe thunderstorm warnings being issued.
Yeah. Jefferson County, Scott County, on into Washington County and northwestern Clark County in Indiana. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that line that's racing in your direction, and it's pretty good chances that additional warnings will be issued farther off to the south, to include Harrison County, perhaps Meade, the rest of Breckenridge, and perhaps even the metro, as long as this stuff holds together and Jay, continues to move quickly off to the east.
And Jay, the Weather Service has decided to expire the tornado warning. Initially, it was expected to expire at 5:15. Sometimes it takes a second for the warning to be pulled off the map, just FYI. So if you're joining us this morning, that warning has been canceled. We weren't seeing a ton of rotation with that particular storm. Let me go ahead and take off those warnings for you and show you what's happening. So this may be transitioning into perhaps more of a strong wind threat. You can see there are some really strong winds showing up here with our base velocity.
Yeah, and notice you go from the red to the green. It's that leading edge, that change. That's where the highest winds are located, where the winds could easily be 50 to 60 miles an hour, perhaps even a little bit higher than that. And then the farther north you go into northern Lawrence County, still a little bit of rotation. That's why the tornado warning was up that way. But it's good to see that we are making the transition from tornadoes over to severe thunderstorm warnings. What's not good is that even a severe thunderstorm warning can cause wind damage, and that's what these are being issued for on this Saturday morning, the possibility of winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, and that is more than enough to bring down some power poles, power lines, some trees, causing some issues out there, as Suzanne talked about. Boy, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's
maybe.
Yeah, that looks a little suspect. There we go. That looks a little better. 50, 60, maybe 70 miles an hour. But you get the drift. There's some strong winds out there cruising off towards the east, northeast.
And Jay,
what is going on to the west, southwest of the metro? What's heading towards the metro?
Southwest. I also want to point out that there's a report of a transformer on fire and no power in Campbellsburg, Indiana. So just maybe an indication of some of those stronger winds that are moving through.
Okay. Mo, while Suzanne is looking off to the southwest, what kind of reports are you getting? Are you getting anything? I know they're pretty scarce this morning.
A couple of reports, and this is actually just outside of the viewing area when they're, I think, in the area where there was that confirmed tornado that hadn't quite made it into the viewing area yet. But there was a couple of reports of thunderstorm wind damage that took down a couple of trees and power lines between Jasper and Ireland. Now, that's just out to the west of our viewing area. But other than that, no reports that are coming in through the National Weather Service, but we're monitoring those feeds right now. But just, you know, keep in mind with this line that's moving so quickly, and I think Suzanne alluded to it as well, just because you might not hear any rain, you might not even hear any thunder because it's still far away from you, but as fast as it's moving, and this is early in the morning, you may need to run to a safe place. Definitely, even with just a severe thunderstorm warning with those winds, those can blow down a tree limb and hit a window and hurt you. So you're going to want to be away from your windows if you see just a severe thunderstorm warning. But the way this, how dynamic the wind has been in these storms, it could easily spin up. So you want to make sure that you are ready to find that safe place as this storm moves through, and it is racing.
Yeah, it sure is. Mo, thank you very much. All right, if you're just joining us, we are in our newscast on this Saturday morning. Good morning to you. About 12 minutes after 5 o'clock this morning, we are tracking the first round of storms producing some severe weather. I'm meteorologist Jay Cardosi. I am in with Suzanne Horrigan and also Mo Rose, and we're going to track this stuff as it moves across the WLKY viewing area early on this Saturday morning. A lot of stuff happening in the city this morning as we've got that Derby City 10K going on, so a lot of folks are going to be out and about wanting to know what's going on. If you're just waking up, here's what's happening. We have severe weather just off to the west and northwest of the metro area. Pretty powerful line of storms producing straight line wind gusts on the order of 50 to 60 miles an hour in scattered spots. The good news, the tornado warnings have either expired or been canceled. We're not getting those tight velocity couplets on the line anymore. It's not to say one could not develop this morning. That's certainly still there's certainly still a chance for that, but as it stands right now, no tornado warnings, all severe thunderstorm warnings along the leading edge of this powerful line of storms. Where it changes from red to green, that's where the strongest winds are located. And you can see that well-defined, what we call bow echo, that's been making steady progress off to the east-northeast, now located from Jackson County into Washington County. High winds moving towards Ripley County, as well as, I should say, Jennings County, as well as Scott County.
Jay, tornado warning now issued for Lawrence and Jackson County. I believe you were pointing that out, that you were concerned that they were going to be issuing for Jackson County. Now, this is for the boy, this radar looks a mess here, doesn't it? Just to the north of Seymour. So this is near Bald Knobs, Kurtz, Clear Spring. I think what I'm going to do, Jay, is I'm going to take off the severe thunderstorm warning so we can just kind of show you that tornado warning again for, this is the very northwestern section of Jackson County.
Yeah,
right there.
And we're talking the Houston area, Spraytown, Freetown, over towards Acme. It's those regions immediately west of Seymour, those small communities under the gun. And you can see the couplet that we're tracking right there. It's already pushing up just north of Jackson County. So it looks like it won't be in Jackson County all that long, so it's more of a straight line wind gust.
Yeah, and it's probably just really an indication, and I'll put the severe thunderstorm warnings, I'll paint those back on to give you some perspective. So again, that's in the very northeastern section where we're watching for that tornado warning. So if your phone is going off, that is why, if you're watching us. This line right here, right along 64, this is looking a little hairy here near Doolittle Mills, Eckerty. That's going to be pushing into Carefree in the next couple of minutes. You were asking about downstream. Now, all of the tornado warnings that were a little bit farther down to the south, those have since been able to be expired. That being said, we're still seeing some pretty healthy storms out there. So again, if you're seeing, if you're in Jackson County, you do have a tornado warning, but we need to make clear that is for the very northeastern section of Jackson County. It does not include Seymour. So this is north and a little bit to the west of Seymour. So the very far northwestern section of Jackson County, that's where that warning is. But boy, we have a mess of severe thunderstorm warnings all the way down back over into nearly Paducah, Jay.
Yeah. All right, folks. All right, so here we are on this early Saturday morning tracking this first line of storms. And inside this line, we've got little what we call line segments, Boeing segments. It's those little Boeing segments as they cruise across any one location that can produce wind damage of 60 miles an hour or greater. One of those segments is now moving across portions of Jackson County as well as Washington County. Another one, Suzanne, let's go ahead and take those warnings off so we can see the actual precipitation. That little guy right there, that's in Crawford County down into Perry County, as Suzanne was talking about, that's looking a little suspect as well. We're going to have to watch that for it to start bowing out, especially near the, yep, there you go. There's some of that rotation showing up, the rotation detector. So we'll watch for that as it cruises rapidly off to the east. That could cause a problem here in relatively short order. And we have more of those Boeing segments the farther southwest you go that will be affecting our Kentucky communities here over the next 1 to 2 hours. Right there. Another one near Owensboro. There's another one down near Dixon. So everything you see here, these little backward C as they cruise off towards the northeast, they're going to cause some issues with potential wind damage. Yeah,
and if you're in Crawford County right now in that Doolittle Mills area, boy, you have got a lightning show right on top of you. I would not be surprised if we saw some power outages with this. You can see there's a ton of lightning. This is moving into English, moving into Carefree, Moberly, where we're seeing some very, very frequent lightning strikes at this point. We're also seeing, of course, a warning associated with that. Let's go ahead and sort of dissect this storm for you and talk a little bit about some of the winds. Now, up into Jackson County, boy, those winds are absolutely howling here. 60, 67 miles per hour, at least in parts of the atmosphere. That's what we're seeing right now. So it remains to be seen if those are being pulled down. That being said, this line does have a history of putting down winds the upwards of about 60 miles per hour. So certainly an indication of the dynamic nature of this storm system. So we're going to be watching for that line to continue to move through Jackson County, back across portions of Scott County. Heads up Scott County. This is going to be moving into your neighborhood in relatively short order. So we're watching for that. And then farther downstream, we're also looking for those stronger storms moving across sections also of Crawford County. That's going to be pushing into sections likely of Harrison County if that's able to hold together. So that's a nasty line of storms. When we put those warnings on right now, you can see we have warnings basically all down the line back nearly to Paducah, where we are watching for some of those severe storms to pass through.
And everything rapidly racing off to the east-northeast at speeds of around 50 to 60 miles an hour. Just that sheer movement will likely ensure winds that high, perhaps even a little bit higher. All right, here's the metro area. We're still in the clear for now, but the warnings, the storms themselves getting a little bit closer. A lot of folks are waking up wondering what's going on. Well, here we go. Here comes the first round of strong and severe storms that we've been talking about for the past several days. This will cruise across the viewing area, likely start to weaken a little bit more so as it moves east of I-65, but nonetheless, still the potential for scattered, strong, and severe wind gusts over the next couple of hours as this batch moves on through, and then yet another batch later on today into tonight. Here's a live look as we're at the East End Bridge right now. Shaking there a little bit, just the environmental winds. We have a wind advisory out ahead of these storms, so just non-thunderstorm winds. We're talking wind gusts of 40, 45 miles per hour. In town, look at this, 71 spring-like degrees still early on this Saturday morning. Humidity 55%. That's been slowly climbing, feeding some of those thunderstorms. And look at that south wind, 26 sustained, but gusting higher than that. So we've got the warmth, we've got a little bit of instability. That's why the storms are rumbling early on this Saturday morning. This is for a little bit later on today. We're going to hold on to the chances for at least some isolated to scattered severe storms later this afternoon into tonight. In our area, we have a slight risk on a scale of 1 to 5. That's a 2, so not huge, but the threat is there. The threat is extremely large. A rare high risk has been issued for the Deep South. places like Mississippi and Alabama, including the city of Birmingham and Tupelo, for example. These areas under the gun for those wedge-shaped tornadoes, those large, long-track tornadoes that could really cause a problem later today and also tonight. Watch the Futurecast now. It has a decent handle. As the line segment continues to push off to the east this morning, it tends to break apart a little bit more so, especially east of I-65, a little bit of a weakening trend. So we'll actually lose the severe threat deeper into the morning for a time. And then look at this. Shortly after midday, I mean, the showers and storms as yet another piece of jet stream energy moves into the lower Ohio Valley. That creates lift in the atmosphere, and bam, you get this huge blow up of showers and storms again. This is going to be this afternoon on into this evening, and we're looking at some very heavy rainfall in addition to some possible isolated severe storms. Looks to me that the greatest threat for severe storms is going to be south of the metro, but nonetheless, we're looking at extremely heavy rainfall across the better part of the viewing area that could add up to several inches in any one spot. And as this stuff is coming down, I mean, it's Saturday. Saturday, a lot of folks have plans to head out. Please, please, please don't drive through anything flooded. Find another route, especially if it's nighttime, for crying out loud. Don't go blazing with high speeds, too. Watch for ponding on the roadways. This is the type of an event that can really cause problems with the heavy rainfall. All right, so here's what we have going on. Here's the metro. New severe thunderstorm warnings have indeed been issued now for Floyd County, Harrison County, on into west and northwestern Meade County. So watching from, Greenville, Galena, over towards Corydon, let's call it the Palmyra area, Milltown, Ramsey, down to near Dogwood and Central, and then on into northern portions of Breckenridge County, near Union Star, for example. You are now underneath a severe thunderstorm warning for winds that are going to be upwards of 60 miles an hour. I get it. There's nothing in your area right now. You're being warned for the line that's off to your west that is rapidly racing eastbound. Suzanne putting on a storm track for us. Suzanne, movement is
about 50 to 55 miles per hour. So this is going to be heading into Beechwood at about 5:27, near Magnolia at about 5:28, Carefree at around 5:30, Leavenworth at about 5:32. So this is the storm system that we are watching when it was moving across areas of Doolittle Mills. Let's go ahead and see if there's any rotation in that. We're going to take off some of the storm tracks there and take a quick look at our storm velocity and also our wind velocity here to just see if we're picking up any sort of rotation. When we take a look at the rotation tracker, it does look like, I'm going to take those lightning strikes off, that maybe just a little bit north of DePaul, a little bit outside of New Pekin, we're seeing some rotation showing up. I want to caution you, it doesn't have to be a tornado warning to be a dangerous weather event for us, and we have seen this storm system bring down some power lines and also unfortunately set fire to some transformers as well a little bit farther back out to the west, and a wind gust has been reported of about 60 miles per hour. Obviously, it's very difficult for us to get storm reports when it is still dark out there, but that's that storm that we've been watching closely. This is right on top of in between English and Grantsburg. So if you're in this area, shoot us an email if you can do so safely. Let us know what you're seeing there. Hop onto social. Mo Roses, of course, checking all of our social media. I don't know if you've got anything to add, Mo, with that storm system coming through.
Just that we're getting reports of trees and power lines down over on McKinley Street in Campbellsburg from the Washington County Emergency Management. So they're posting stuff, and this is all part of that same storm that moving through Jasper. There was also a lot of trees and power lines that are reported down. And if you're able to pull up link 3 right now, you can see that some of the power outages that are already overtaking some of the counties. So in Orange County, we've got 3,000 people without power. Washington, 400, but I have a feeling that that is going to be growing, these numbers soon as this line continues to push to the east. And with that latest warning, it is just knocking on the door of the western edge of the metro. So if you live in the metro, you will be getting a storm here within the hour. So just be prepared for that And right now, these are all severe thunderstorm warnings, but they can quickly change and intensify into a tornado warning. So just be prepared to find that safe place in your house if that occurs.
All right, Mo, thank you very much. Let's go back to the Doppler radar. As you can see, boy, we've got to watch that,
yeah.
Suzanne, right on 64.
Right, and that's the storm that we've been watching for the past, let's say, half hour or so as being a little bit concerning for us. Obviously, you are seeing a ton of lightning in that storm. Seeing some very strong winds as well. Maybe some hail also showing up there.
I think this is a supercell that's starting to organize here. If you go back to the reflectivity, you can see what looks like a little bit of an appendage started to advance out ahead of the main line. So some rotation or some higher wind energy that's pushing that out. And it looks like that could be a hail core immediately east of English. So this kind of looks like a supercell embedded within the line. We're going to have to watch that extremely closely as it moves across the remainder of Crawford County on into Harrison County. So from, oh boy, just near the Corydon area and points off to the west and northwest from there. That is looking suspect.
Yeah.
How about the velocity field?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does show some rotation showing up here. You can see that right near Hancock Chapel. And this is right near the DePaul area, but we're also watching it a little bit downstream with some of those stronger wind gusts potentially. Yeah,
we'll watch this area very closely because, again, you can see how the green is starting to jet out a little bit quicker. So this would be a zone that I would look for intensifying rotation. So not happening yet, but we've got it on our radar. Pardon the pun, as it's moving quickly off to the east-northeast. All right, so let's go a little bit farther off to the southwest. Here is another line segment in the Owensboro area. This, too, rapidly racing off towards the east-northeast. This is going to be moving across places like Hancock County, Perry County, soon to be Breckenridge County and Meade County. We're going to have to watch for that. And this is probably the energy that's going to make it to the metro within the next 30 to 60 minutes or so. So nothing in town just yet, but that will soon be changing.
That's right. And as we go ahead and just put those warnings on, a little bit of a reset for you. So the only warning that we have for a tornado warning has been lifted a little bit farther to the north. So you can see it no longer includes Jackson County. So we don't have any tornado warnings at this time. But boy, we have a mess of severe thunderstorm warnings out there. And this line of storms has a history of putting down winds the upwards of 60 miles per hour. So certainly nothing to mess around with. Mo Rose has been telling us that a number of trees have been reported down. We've got lots of power outages as well. So this is nothing to mess around with. If you're waking up in the metro, you're probably saying, what's going on here? It's just warm and windy. I want to go ahead and take a quick look at some of our cameras and see what's going on here in the metro as we take a look. I have maybe a camera really bouncing around here. This is our camera that's at the Yum Center, but I have our camera that's downtown that I'm trying to have moved a little bit farther off to the west to see if we can see anything kind of on the horizon here, if we're seeing any lightning strikes, but not seeing too much there. But
this one makes me sick sometimes in the wind. It just shakes so much.
A little bit of a shake there. As we take a look at some of our Trimark traffic cameras, you can see we have dry roads on 65 over by the fairgrounds, over by the Lewis and Clark Bridge. We also have dry skies. So we don't have dry skies everywhere. We have that tornado watch that does continue until 10 o'clock this morning. And when you take a look at the radar, I know it's going to give you a headache because there's a lot going on here. But the bottom line is we have that tornado watch until 10. And then right along that line, that's where we're seeing those severe thunderstorm warnings. If you're waking up, you're hearing those rumbles of thunder. It's a light show in some locations this morning, so very scary to wake up to. But the bottom line is we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings that do continue right along. You can see basically kind of running parallel to Interstate 65. That line of storms is going to continue to make its eastward progression throughout the morning hours. Don't put your guard down, though, because another batch of shower and thunderstorm activity will likely come back into our area later today. And that will bring us, I think, a pretty healthy risk of our seeing some very heavy rainfall.
Okay, folks, good morning. 5:31 on this Saturday morning. Just waking up. We're tracking severe weather. We've been talking about this first batch for the past couple of days. Here it is early on this Saturday morning, cruising into the metro area. A lot of folks just waking up, likely anyway, getting ready to head out as we've got some events going on around the city, like the Derby City 10K. And we've got a lot of basketball going on later on today into tonight, perhaps some basketball watch parties. So here's what's happening. Here's the very latest. We have a tornado watch, as Suzanne just alluded to, goes until 10 o'clock this morning. However, as this line passes any one location, that will be it for the severe weather for this morning, okay? So once we get this line through, that'll be it. That watch will likely be chiseled away, in other words, from west to east once this line passes on through. Right now, though, along and east of that line, we have severe thunderstorm warnings that have been issued, running all the way from Jennings County, Jackson County, down through Scott County, including you folks, of course, in Scottsburg. Clark County from I-65 and points off to the west. Now getting very close to the metro, we have a severe thunderstorm warning close to New Albany and off to the west of there. Corydon in Harrison County, just west of Brandenburg, and then that tails back to Owensboro. So really, if you think about it, anywhere along the leading edge of this heavier band of rain and storms and points east, the severe threat is running quite high for damaging straight line winds that could be on the order of 50 to 60 miles per hour as this line moves across any one location.
Yeah, and that's right. And we're watching, you know, Jay, you were pointing out kind of the notchy nature of this line of storms. So I think that's what we're going to be watching as that line continues to make its progression. And Jay, you were talking about that storm a little bit closer over to Rockport there that you're watching for that supercell.
Wow. Yeah, that is, we're going to have to watch that one, Suzanne, like a hawk. I mean, that almost looks like, look at that thing. Mm-hmm. It is really starting to wrap up on the southern flank there. So again, this is west of the viewing area, but this too looks like a supercell embedded in the line here. Maybe a hail core holding right there, and then you've got the appendage, and you've got some rotation, some good inflow. There's some of the hail as it was happening probably the last 5 to 10 minutes. It's likely up over the Ritchie area now. And there's your rotation starting to show up. Yeah. So we got to watch that cell for a possible tornado warning here. And that would be heading towards places like Perry County, perhaps Breckenridge County and Meade County if it holds together and intensifies.
Yeah, so, and that's what we were talking about, Jay, is just kind of the notchy nature of this line of storms as they continue to make their progression. One would hope that it's going to be moving into a less supportive environment as it continues to make that eastward progression, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed. That's what it was looking like when we were checking out some of the model data during the overnight hours, that as this set of storms, this line of storms continues to make its eastward progression, it should be moving into less favorable environments as far as that severe weather threat. That being said, you don't hold, you know, you don't put your guard down, but we're still going to be watching it closely for you. But I think southern Indiana, for our western communities, those are the areas that we are certainly the most concerned with as far as seeing that severe weather threat. And I know you're waking up to hearing a lot of that thunder out there and seeing quite a bit of lightning. So this is certainly a dangerous line of storms. Even if we don't have a tornado warning issued again, we've still had a history of damaging wind gusts. And Mo, we were talking, you just got a new storm report, didn't you?
Oh, they were coming in. Yeah, there was a tree that went onto a house in Campbellsburg, Indiana, where we had a couple of other trees and power lines down. This was on Cedar Lane in Campbellsburg, Indiana. That's where the tree went down on a house. Then the winds and these storms are wild. Some photos are coming in from Du Bois County. This is just outside of the viewing area. A viewer sent in a picture of a woodshed that was thrown onto a car. So the winds in this are powerful enough to be doing damage like this. And I feel like it's slowed down. Some of this part of the storms have slowed down a little bit. I think they were at once moving 70 miles per hour, now down to 55 and then 50. But some of those storms down to our south and west of us are looking very rough. So I think Jay has, you know, good idea. We're keeping an eye on that. It's starting to almost take in a little more of a kidney shape, and if that starts to wrap up and that heads towards the east, that will be impacting us here soon. But the storms, they are still racing. Racing through.
Tell you what, Suzanne, can we let's go back to the Doppler here.
Okay.
Let's track these various line segments. So what I'd like to do is let's go ahead and track that line segment as it's moving off to the northeast. They're all moving, you know, in this direction at speeds of, what do we got, guys?
55.
50, 55. So let's track these line segments, give folks out ahead of these storms a good idea as to when they're going to impact. DePaul 540, Moberly 543, Palmyra 545, the Martinsburg area, New Pekin as well, about 10 minutes before 6 o'clock. Okay, so if you're in or close to those communities, boy, the next 10 to 20 minutes. That storm is looking mean right now.
This looks even worse than the last time that we were looking at that, Jay. You can see that notch has really, really increased. We're seeing certainly the characteristics of a very nasty storm there.
This, too, is tracking its way off to the northeast. So this is going to be moving towards Perry County here in relatively short order.
And if you just bear with me, I'm going to kind of dissect this storm. Don't look at this storm track just quite yet. I'm going to modify the storm track just a little bit to hopefully give us a little bit better information, because I know that that's the one that we're watching the most closely. So let me go ahead and kind of modify that storm.
Yeah, that is a supercell on this line. It has a hail core. It has a hook echo that is starting to form. No tornado warning with it just yet. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see a tornado warning issued for this guy as it moves off towards the northeast. Right now, this is holding immediately off to the west of the viewing area. It is getting closer and closer, though. We'll be heading towards Tell City, perhaps just north of Tell City, over the next 15 to 20 minutes. But that is one nasty-looking cell right now, guys.
That hail core on there.
A cell that we're going to have to watch closely. And then there's another, what we call Boeing segment, that's west of the viewing area, just west of Owensboro. That, too, racing off to the northeast. So everything you see here is kind of moving in this direction. And any one of those cells has at least the potential to produce damaging straight-line winds, 60 miles an hour, maybe a little bit higher. If it becomes a supercell, it's also going to produce some hail and extremely heavy rainfall as well. So we've got the severe threat on this Saturday morning.
I modified that storm track to just expand it really far out and kind of change some of the city names just to give you some perspective on that particular supercellular thunderstorm. And that looks like it would be near Lanesville at around 6:36. This is if it holds together, and it would be near Valley Station at about 6:40 if it's moving at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. So just an indication if it's still making that northeast trajectory. So we'll have to see if that is able to hold together as it continues to push off to the north and to the northeast. So that's the storm right now that we're watching kind of out ahead of time. And it's one right there that's just outside the WLKY viewing area.
Okay, so we'll continue to monitor that one. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see a tour warn for that real quick here. All right, let's go to the little segment that's right around Marengo, moving into northern portions of Harrison County. What do we see with that?
Okay, so that is the storm that we've been watching since it was over sections of Doolittle Mills. Looks like a pretty decent swath of hail there as far as those winds, perhaps some stronger winds as well. So again, nothing that's screaming out at you. But the bottom line is this is still a really strong storm that's moving through. If nothing else, you're probably seeing an absolute ton of lightning with that storm a little bit north of DePaul. That's right into the Hardinsburg area. That's in northern Harrison County. And then in southern Washington County, where we're seeing a ton of lightning, you're likely also experiencing quite a bit of hail. Mo, have we had any hail reports out of that storm as best you can tell? Not yet.
Now that I'm seeing, really, it's all just wind damage. We've got trees down, transformers that caught fire, power out in Campbellsburg, Indiana, a lot of problems in Jasper. I'm actually going to get trying to get a picture up for you guys right now. This actually came in from Du Bois County, where there was a shed was thrown onto a car. We've got a view of that on Links 3 if you want to pull it up right now, and that's just a view of the shed was blown onto a car. And this is just these powerful winds with these storms. So even if it's not a tornado warning and you see that there's a yellow box flashing over by where you live and you live in that path of the storm, you want to make sure you are getting away from those windows. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry, because some of these storms can quickly intensify and we could have tornadic activity with them. And that one that we are watching that's just outside of the viewing area is a little beast. The hail core on that is huge. The winds are very powerful there, and that's just heading towards the viewing area right now.
Suzanne, can we put a lapse on some of that reflectivity as well? I want to look at that line segment, where it's going, the one in Harrison County, north of Corydon, and just get a, more of a, it's moving towards southeastern Washington, of course, right towards Palmyra. This is going to pass north of the metro, and this is going to move into sections of Clark County here within the next 15 to 30 minutes.
And it looks like when we look at it kind of from a broader perspective here, you can see it has actually, it looks like it has weakened a little bit, doesn't it, Jay? So that's some good news for us. It has come down as far as the number of lightning strikes that we're seeing. Perhaps when you don't see that really dark shade, when you see kind of that maroon color, that purple color, sometimes that's an indication that the radar is picking up something larger, some hail perhaps. I suspect that they probably saw quite a bit of hail with this particular storm moving through, or maybe even just some really, really torrential downpours, but it's an electric storm. And it's a dynamic storm system that we're watching. And down to the south, it looks like maybe south of Santa Claus, south of Perry County, there's maybe a little bit of rotation that's being picked up on the radar as well, Jay. Yeah,
that's that supercell that I'm quite worried about right now, because how it looks on the radar, it's nasty right now, no question about it. That is a supercell. We've got a low-level rotational lock on it now, so the rotation is indeed trying to intensify. This is holding just outside the viewing area in Spencer County in Indiana, but it is moving towards Perry County. And if it holds together, could impact places like Crawford County as well, as it's moving off towards the northeast. And look at that next line segment, that one. Near Owensboro. That Boeing segment right there, that no doubt is producing hail and high winds as it races off towards the northeast. So there's about 3 different Boeing segments, 3 different storms kind of on this entire long line that has the potential to produce, you know, compact areas of damage. And you can see it plain as day right there.
Yeah, and you can see this is just as we're dissecting the hail. Now, that's in the upper parts of the atmosphere. Hail a lot of times will melt, but 3-inch hail at least being indicated by radar. So obviously that is tremendously large hail that we're seeing with that, and some very strong winds also likely, I would suspect, showing up with that as well. Yeah, a lot of lift in the atmosphere right there. Can we zoom in on that storm near Tell City and check out the rotation again on that? And let's go to the base velocity if you have it. Yeah, you know, I mean, it looks like it is tightening just a little bit. Red. Right there. Winds blowing towards the left-hand portion of your TV set. Green, the opposite direction. So right on top of Evanston and just west of Troy. And this is going to quickly race off to the northeast. We'll watch it close. Yeah, and Jay, and that rotation actually looks better than what we have seen before here with this particular storm. So maybe it's wrapping up just a little bit. So an indication here right near Evanston, as you were mentioning, where we're seeing some of the rotation showing up here with winds not too bad, 30, 40 miles per hour, so in different directions. So sometimes that can be an indication. And we are getting that kind of base velocity lock on there where you see that little cone that shows up here, just an indication that the radar is picking up some of that rotation as well. All right, folks, we're going to try to reset here. Here we are, 5:45 early on this Saturday morning. Meteorologist Mo Rose, Suzanne Horgan, myself, Jay Cardosi in tracking these severe storms for you, giving you a good idea as to where they're going, how long they're going to stick around, and what's coming up next. This is the first batch that we were expecting, arriving right on time on this early Saturday morning, holding immediately north and west of the metro. I will say this, the storm, the line of storm seems to be
becoming a little bit more discombobulated. Our computer models were saying that this line would indeed weaken somewhat as it approached Interstate 65 and especially east of 65, and it appears to be doing that. Now, having said that, there are certain areas that are still rather intense along the line, and it's those areas where we have severe thunderstorm warnings that are still in effect. Up near Seymour, just east of you, into portions of Jennings County, we have severe thunderstorm warnings immediately west of the metro here, from Floyd County through Harrison County, Meade County, down to near Owensboro, for these storm segments that are producing a lot of rain, lightning, thunder, some hail, and very gusty winds, at least in scattered locations. But the number of warnings, Suzanne, looks like it's coming down just a little bit.
It is coming down just a little bit for that section that's in portions of Washington County and Scott County. Those warnings have been allowed to expire, but boy, we're still seeing some very healthy storms back out to the west, and it's not even hit the metro yet, so this is still downstream. Mo, I know you were just saying something. Was there something you needed to add?
Just in that one storm that we were watching, as everything's starting to tighten up, it is those winds are just incredibly powerful if you look at the storm velocity.
Yeah, and we were looking at some of those strong winds. And Mo, you were mentioning that we do have some damage reports as well from a little bit farther back out to the west.
Yes, from Du Bois County, we had a viewer that sent in a picture that has and I can pull that up here on Links 3 if you want to take a look, from Du Bois County near Huntingburg. Now, there was a shed that was blown into a car, so the winds were at least powerful enough to do something like that. But we're also getting reports in Campbellsburg of a tree that fell on a house on Sutter Lane. That was in Campbellsburg, Indiana. And then also just various power lines down from the storm that has gone through. A lot of trees that are down in both Du Bois and in Washington County. There's probably going to be some power outages. We did get reports of a transformer that caught fire in Campbellsburg, and so there's power outages there. And that is going to be the case as this line continues to push across the viewing area. It's going to be here in the metro within the hour, and it is moving very quickly. But I do like the fact that it looks like at least we're seeing part of that line weaken quite a bit since we went on, an hour and a half ago, just when those tornado warnings started to pop in. And it looks like those have starting to weaken, but it just looks like it's intensifying on that line that's south and west of us. So that's what we really got to watch right now.
Yeah, and Mo, you were talking about that in that storm that's a little bit farther down to the south, a little bit closer over to that Owensboro area, that have issued a warning that says it's considered a destructive thunderstorm. So just an indication, Mo, as you were mentioning, those really strong winds that we're seeing in some of the damage reports also that were coming in as well. So that's a little bit farther down to the south. We're waking up to really warm temperatures. There's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. It's a dynamic storm system. We have temperatures in the 70s. We have winds that are moving at about 26 miles per hour. This is not the only thing that we're going to be watching. So we have that severe weather threat for a little bit later today. We're under that slight risk category. That's level 2. Farther down to the south, that's where they're looking for, unfortunately, a severe weather outbreak likely as we make our way throughout the day. Again, that's across areas of Mississippi and Alabama. Across our local area, you can see all of the warnings that are lined up from north to south, back out to the west, into portions of Owensboro and back, that are going to be moving into sections of Spencer County, back across portions of Meade County. There's a pretty healthy storm system that we're going to see continuing to push a little bit farther to the east. So that certainly is something that we're going to be watching. If you're just waking up and joining us, we continue to have that tornado watch until 10 o'clock this morning. So we're going to keep eyes on the potential for any of these storms to have a little bit of rotation. What we're currently seeing now, just severe thunderstorm warnings. That's where you can see all of those orange boxes from north to south here. And then the strongest storm that we're seeing, I think, Jay, is just outside the WLKY viewing area with that storm that you've had eyes on across portions of Owensboro. That looks really nasty.
Yeah, that's where the destructive tag is located right now. It's this storm back through here. right there. And not only are we seeing winds on the radar scope upwards of 70, 75 miles an hour in the Owensboro area, we're also seeing the storm trying to wrap up. We have a little inflow notch, and notice the black. We have a hail core as well. So that is a very intense supercellular thunderstorm near Owensboro, racing off to the northeast. It's west of the viewing area, but it bears watching and bears watching closely. Another little hail core with another supercell that is embedded in the line that's holding in Spencer County in Indiana, and again, just west of the viewing area, but that will be cruising into Perry County in relatively short order, and we do have a little bit of rotation with that. I just checked the rotation, not only at the surface, but through the depth of the storm. It's broad. That's why a tornado warning has not yet been issued for that guy. Hopefully it won't be issued. Hopefully that thing will continue to weaken some, but it is a storm that bears watching, a storm that has the potential anyway to produce not only some hail, but some scattered wind damage as it too races off to the northeast. And indeed, we had a little bit of rotation on the rotation detector there, some dangerous twisting of the winds immediately east of Santa Claus, and a new low-level lock on the radar scan, which is telling me some of that rotation is trying to reach down to near the ground. So bears watching, and that's exactly what we will do for you early on this Saturday morning. Metro right now still in the clear as everything has been holding farther off to the north and west. And I will say this, the storms that have been just racing east-northeast, as Mo talked about, are slowing down. Because even though they're getting closer to the metro, I think this entire storm complex is starting to slowly weaken, even though we still have some powerful cells out there.
And it looks,
showing signs of weakening.
Looks like, as Mo, you and Jay were talking about, the northern flank is really starting to get a little bit weaker.
Yes.
The southern flank still holding on to quite a bit of its energy. That's where we're seeing some of those supercell storms. So we're not letting our guard down, and we're not letting our guard down really at any point during the day today, because while we're seeing this batch of strong to severe storms moving through this morning that have had a history of producing damage, later today we are going to watch out for the additional threat of more storms moving in, and that will not only bring us the threat of some very heavy rainfall, but perhaps still some gusty winds as well. But I really think, and Jay, we were talking about this earlier, because we have so many people who are going to be out watching basketball, everything else, please be really careful out on the roads tonight. We want you to stay safe out there. We know we have a lot of fun basketball going on here, but it will be maybe a little bit of a nasty evening for us. So we want you to be careful as you're heading out. Just to do a little bit of a reset, we're going to go over all of those warnings for you once again, because we don't have any tornado warnings, but we do have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, Jay.
Yeah, all right, so let's get to it. Here we are looking at the Doppler radar. Here's the metro. Nothing around the metro right now. And again, Suzanne talked about the major event going on in the city. It's the Derby City 10K. Thousands of people running in the second leg of the Triple Crown of running. And so far, the storms are holding west and north, but some of these are pretty powerful, and powerful enough to still be producing thunderstorm warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. So here we go. From just west of 65, western Clark County, severe thunderstorm warning. Much of Floyd County, severe thunderstorm warning. Here's Harrison County, including you folks in Corydon up to Palmyra. Palmyra right now raining really hard, likely some gusty winds. We go farther off to the west. That storm that's in Santa Claus down to near Rockport, Owensboro, this cluster is still quite strong, quite intense, no question about it, and bears watching for not only straight line wind damage, but perhaps a brief tornado spin up, as we've got multiple areas where there is some rotation showing up. All right, we've got one holding here west of the Leopold area. This is racing off towards the northeast. We have another very strong cell down near Owensboro, and finally a little bit farther off to the southwest on Interstate 169 there near Hanson in Kentucky. This too racing off to the northeast. So yes, everything is showing signs of slowly weakening, but we still have at least 2, if not 3 cells that bears watching and watching closely here over the next 30 to 60 minutes. Yeah, Suzanne, those 2 storms.
Yeah.
There's
just that
still nasty.
line. It's 3 little notches that we're going to be watching, I think, the most closely, Jay. The one that's moving through Santa Claus, the one that's moving through Owensboro, and the one that's heading into Calhoun. So 3, I think, distinct areas that I think are a little bit concerning for us this morning. There are warnings on them, severe thunderstorm warnings, I would suspect, with tornado tags on them, just letting you know that that's a potential. When we take a look, you know, as Mo was pointing out, the northern sections becoming a little bit weaker. You're probably seeing some heavy rainfall if you're into portions of Jefferson County, Indiana, moving into portions of Clark County as well. So Metro, you're still dry, warm, and breezy, but we're going to be looking at additional threats of rain. This line was looking like it was going to continue to kind of fade away a little bit, weaken. It's obviously not as dynamic, fortunately, as the storm system as it was across portions of Missouri and Illinois, where they had a severe weather outbreak with a number of confirmed tornadoes and power outages across portions of Illinois and Missouri. For our interests, we're still looking at the strong storms. They are just not as significant as they were farther back up to the west.
Yep, I agree. So it's those segments that we really have to watch, basically off to the west of the metro, as the storms that are now here in sections of Harrison County and points off to the northeast are indeed weakening. Still some wind in them, but they are weakening. The tornado watch, that continues until 10 o'clock this morning, but it will likely be chiseled away from west to east as this line passes across any one location. So there are the warnings flashing, all severe thunderstorm warnings at this point in the game, and the strongest storms holding west and southwest of the metro, especially where you see these skits, these storm arrows, where the storms are actually traveling and what type of a storm it is. These are pretty powerful cells that we have to continue to watch very closely here over the next 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, and we're watching that storm system moving at about 50 to 55 miles per hour. As we put this line into motion, you can see its progression eastward. And so we'll be watching especially the southern flank of that storm system now. Mo, have there been any more storm reports that have come in? I know you had a picture of some damage.
Yeah, there was some damage that took place in Du Bois County. We had a picture of that, and that was a shed that blew from onto a car. And so we got a picture of that coming in. This was near Huntingburg. This is just west of the viewing area. But as you get into the viewing area, we're starting to get just word of trees that are down. A transformer caught fire, and there's a power outage in Campbellsburg, Indiana. And we're also seeing the power outages, the numbers increase. Take a look on your screen in Paoli, or at least in Orange County, 4,000 people without power, 600 in Washington County. And with that transformer that blew, we're likely going to see that number grow. We're now getting reports of 300 people without power in Jackson County and 400 right now in Floyd County. And I assume we're going to be seeing more and more of these power outages as the line continues to progress across the area. Also wanted to point out that those winds are still whipping around there. This is just one of our products that pick up on wind speeds, and there are winds up to 51 miles per hour. The Kentucky Mesonet was picking up on 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts since midnight for some of the folks that live out to the west of us. And so this is the same line that is going to be pushing through. So if you are hearing those winds whipping around, stay away from those windows, because winds can take down tree limbs and they can break into windows and cause damage into your house and also cause you injuries. So you want to be very careful with these storms.
Mo, thank you very much. Here we are, 6 o'clock this morning on this Saturday morning. Good morning to you if you're just waking up. Here's what's happening as we gaze outside from the tower cam. From time to time, I am seeing lightning flashes out there. The metro is still quiet. Listen, it's windy. It's warm. We're 72 degrees as we speak. Humidity continues to slowly climb. South winds at 19 sustained, but gusting higher than that from time to time. You'll get a wind gust at your house or in your community that could be up to 40 miles an hour. Non-thunderstorm winds, just environmental winds with how much energy there is. The tornado watch is in effect for the viewing area. This goes until 10 o'clock this morning. If there is some good news to report, the storms seem to be coming down in intensity just a little bit, at least the number of strong storms. We still have several cells that look pretty mean on the radar scan. Here are the warnings, and notice we've lost the warnings for Floyd County and Harrison County. Great news. And yes, that segment looks much, much weaker now. Some heavy rainfall, perhaps winds up to 40 miles an hour for Clark County, northern Harrison County, northwestern Floyd County. But again, good to see this storm coming down in intensity, and that's what we were expecting to happen. You can see a couple of stronger cells, though, intense storms that I'm still tracking here. We've got one here in Perry County. We have another one out near Owensboro, immediately east of there. That is a very intense storm. Hail, high winds likely with that cell as it moves off to the northeast. Now, having said that, both these storms, for the most part, are just west and southwest of the viewing area, but as they cruise off in a northeasterly direction, that one in Perry County will continue to move east closer to I-64 and move into Crawford County here in relatively short order. It could actually impact portions of northern Harrison and southern Washington County here over the next 15 to 30 minutes. The storm that's down near Owensboro will continue to move adjacent to the Ohio River towards Hancock County, Tell City, cruise into portions of Perry County, could impact Breckenridge County and Meade County. So, you know, these storms, these two storms, bears watching, no question about it, for hail and wind that could be easily in excess of 60 to 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, most definitely, Jay. In fact, we can go ahead and sort of dissect these storms for you, let you know what's happening with our hail tracker. I'm going to take the warnings off just briefly so you can see everything a little bit more clearly. Let's zoom into a few of these storms and show you these are picking up quite a bit of hail. Now, you can have huge hail in the upper parts of the atmosphere. Obviously, it warms and melts quite a bit. That being said, these are just storms that are really putting down quite a bit of hail, I suspect, as we make our way throughout your morning hours. So if you're waking up and hearing some hail on the rooftop, it's because of these storms continuing to pass on through. Now, as far as winds, nothing right now in the metro. Certainly, we're looking at just some gusty environmental winds. But with some of these storms, they have had a history of putting down winds of about 60 miles per hour. And as Mo has been telling us, also putting down, unfortunately, some damage a little bit farther to the west. So right now, we're going to be watching for some rotation on the southern portion of this storm system, of this line that's continuing to move through, where we're picking up, it looks like, right outside Africa, some of that rotation showing up here this morning. So again, we'll continue to monitor that. When we put our shear detector on, our rotation detection, you can see it is lighting up a little bit more farther down to the south versus up to the north. A little bit of rotation, however, showing up right along Interstate 64. So sometimes you have storms that are just very strong and they rotate. It's not indicating a tornado, but you have rotation in some of those storms.
Also, Suzanne, if you lapse that shear product, I'm wondering if we're seeing weakening along the entire segment here. Let's lapse that and see what's going on, if you can do so. Yeah, I mean, if you look at what's happening off to the north that moved across Salem and Scottsburg, that is gone. If you look at some of the brighter greens, we had some reds showing up. Those are now weakening as well. So good to see that we're starting to see a weakening trend. Still a couple of stronger cells, but nonetheless weakening just off to the west and southwest of the metro.
And that being said, we don't want to let down our guard because these storms have produced winds of about 60 miles per hour in a number of areas that are seeing some damage here. So obviously when storms happen during the overnight hours, they can be incredibly scary because it is dark, you're asleep, you're getting that rude awakening. Mo, have you had any more reports with those power outages?
Actually, we're coming in with some more damage reports from Washington County that there's a live power line down across the roadway of Marshall Road north of Saltillo, Indiana. And also some of the storms that are going to be moving in with that destructive tag on it has hail, at least radar indicated hail, 1 to 2 inches. And so we got to be watching that one closely. Even though there's no torn tag on it, the hail could be a problem, and winds gusting up to 70 miles per hour.
And a couple of new thunderstorm warnings have just been issued for those cells that we were talking about. We've got the new warning that does include English. That's a severe thunderstorm warning up into Crawford County. The rest of Perry County clips into far western Harrison County, and we have another warning here, southern Perry County, Hancock County, and close to Hardinsburg, western Breckenridge County, for these line segments, these storms that are producing some rotation that is telling us there's a high potential for some wind damage and some hail too. These are the hail cores on these things are phenomenal. I mean, they are really showing up. There they are. One near Leopold, the other one just east of Owensboro, and that's probably some pretty large hail, at least 1 inch in diameter hail, as everything moves off towards the northeast. As we put on some of those queries, we're talking 2-inch hail up in the atmosphere. By the time it reaches the ground, it's probably a little bit smaller than that, but still of a severe category. So be on the lookout for hail. And also some high winds. You know, if you're out ahead of these segments here in Crawford County, Meade County, Breckenridge County, the car's outside, take this time, get the car in the garage or under the carport if you can do so, because again, these things are packing a punch with not only wind but some hail.
And we're showing some rotation showing up with a couple of those storms as well, Jay. And so it's interesting because the storms seem to be kind of evolving a little bit, where we start to see a little bit of kind of a calm and then they pick up a little bit. That's not unusual in this type of environment, so we'll be watching that closely. So we are not going to let down our guard with these storms, even though the northern sections appear to have weakened. Farther down to the south, these are still some very strong storms where we're continuing to see the warnings being issued as the storms continue to progress eastward. So we're seeing some kind of messy rotation, it looks like, showing up into portions of Sulphur, near Riddle, just outside Doolittle Mills. It looks like we're going to be watching for that. So you can see some of the locks that have been showing up here. This is just outside Sulphur, where we're seeing a pretty healthy storm right here. This is right near West Fork. And then farther down to the south, right here where we're picking up some of that rotation. This is just outside of Oriole, just outside Mount Pleasant. This is going to be heading into the Beechwood area in the next couple of minutes, just outside Carefree. So, and then farther down to the south, the one that we're watching for sections of Breckenridge County is that storm you see near Gatewood. And then we also have storms farther down to the south over into the Browns Valley area as well. As Jay was pointing out, obviously we're picking up quite a bit of hail in some of these storms as well. As we take a look at kind of the shear as well, these storms have had a history of putting down some rotation here. You can see just south of English here, and then that storm right near Leopold. We are picking up some rotation in right near Derby. So we're not going to, you know, put down our guard just quite yet. I do want to indicate what's going to happen a little bit later today, because while we're seeing these storms here this morning, as we make our way throughout the morning hours, I think we'll see a relative lull. I don't think we're going to go completely quiet, but we're going to see a lull before another batch of more shower and thunderstorm activity overspreads the region later today. That will bring us a flooding concern and also a concern as far as some of those winds as well. So we'll be watching for that as we make our way throughout a little bit later today and into tonight. We were talking about it earlier with all of the basketball games. We've got a lot of people going out tonight. We want you to be really careful if you're going out tonight, Jay.
Okay, Suzanne, thanks so very much. So let's kind of recap. Here we are a little after 6 o'clock on this Saturday morning. A lot of folks waking up. If you're just joining us, we have been tracking severe weather for the last couple of hours. A storm segment that has come out of Missouri, out of Illinois, where it did produce long-tracked violent tornadoes. It has since weakened. It continues to weaken, but nonetheless, a couple of powerful cells exist along this line. The northern batch is indeed weakening, and weakening quite rapidly. This is the batch I'm watching off to the west and southwest. A couple of cores that are still producing some hail and the likelihood of some strong winds of 60, maybe 70 miles an hour. As a matter of fact, this storm here that's cruising into Owensboro and just off to the northeast there, another one towards Tell City. Let's go over to the analyzer if we could. I've got a three-dimensional display of this storm. We're taking a look at this storm in the vertical, and there you go. You can see this thing. This is the hail core where you see that purple zone. That is very, very heavy precipitation and ice that's suspended way, way up in the atmosphere. That is the updraft. That is the hail core, and then it comes down to the ground, of course. And it's been producing hail the size of 1, maybe 2 inches in diameter. So that is still a very intense storm there, Suzanne. Very close to Owensboro and just east of there now.
And that's, we were talking about some of the hail. At one point, we were getting radar indications of 3-inch hail.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had a storm, a couple of storms that fired up on Thursday that put down enough hail that it looked like a snow covering across portions of Mount Washington and into Okolona. So for this, it does look like a situation where we might be dealing with some pockets of very large hail, and that can cause some damage if you have your car parked outside. So when we're in the metro here, it is still dry. That being said, it looks like a little gust front is perhaps developing out ahead of that line. You can see that there, Jay, moving into the knobs, maybe that little gust front showing up here. So we're going to be watching for some of that rain to move through. Still some question marks with that big, huge race that we have going on in the next hour and a half or so. So we'll be watching that closely because it does look like we'll be watching for some rain that potentially could be moving in during that time.
We'll try to get some information on that for you and see if there's been a delay or anything like that. I haven't heard, but nonetheless, we'll try to get that for you here in relatively short order because, yeah, it's been very quiet in the metro. Continues to be that way as the storms are tracking off to the northeast and the entire line slowly sinking east-southeast, but it's taking its sweet time. And Suzanne talked about it does look like that's a little bit of an outflow boundary right there, and the storms to the north of it have become elevated. That means they're being cut off from the main inflow, the main source of instability they need to keep going, and that's why they are weakening. As we pull out and take a look at the entire system, man, it's a big storm system. We have one piece of energy that's cruising up through the Great Lakes. That's what kicked off the storms in our area right now and the tornado outbreak as it occurred off to the west in Missouri, Arkansas, and Illinois. There's another surge of energy that's coming down through Texas that is going to swing through the deep south up through the Tennessee Valley and our area later on today and tonight. And that is why we're not out of the woods. That's why we've been talking about 2 rounds of storms. The first one, which is on top of us now, the second one later today and tonight. And that's why we still have a slight risk for severe weather here later today and this evening. On a scale of 1 to 5, it's a 2, so it's not all that great. But as you travel south, I mean, this could be a very, very dangerous day down here in Mississippi and Alabama. This is a rare high risk for severe weather. They're expecting a regional tornado outbreak down in that area later this afternoon on into the evening. And what I mean by that is some of those large wedge tornadoes that can be on the ground and stay on the ground for a long period of time. That's what they're expecting down to the south. Not here, but down to the south. So new severe thunderstorm warnings are being issued for these little cores we've been watching like a hawk here. One that's in the English area, just south of you, man, a big hail core that's right on Interstate 64 right now. That is moving off in a northeasterly direction at speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour. So some of the communities in the path of this hail and the strong wind gusts that could be easily 60 miles an hour. Magnolia, 618, Carefree 621, down towards Moberly and Palmyra right around 630, and that takes it into northern Harrison County. A little farther off to the southwest, Suzanne, we have another storm that's in the Troy area. Hancock County, Perry County. That storm, too, moving off in an east-northeasterly direction. We're going to have to watch that one as it comes into places like Breckinridge County as well as Meade County. If you could, Suzanne, if we could go down.
You know, I was just trying to find, and maybe Mo, you wouldn't mind checking that out to see if with any of our INDOT cameras we can try to pull up something on 64. I know we don't have that many on 64, but I was wondering if maybe we could try to get that one over by English. I was hoping that we might have a camera a little bit closer over there. Mo probably will be able to check that out for us.
Yeah.
And so you were asking about that storm a little bit farther down to the south, the one that's heading into Breckinridge County, correct?
Yeah, that one too. That one looks fairly intense. A hail core right there. There's Tell City. This is Perry County. This is Hancock County. And this is Breckinridge County. Of course, you have the Ohio River. And notice these purple and black cores. Likelihood some large hail, at least 1 inch in diameter, that's falling in northern Hancock County. And this too is moving its way off in an northeasterly direction. That's going to move across southern Perry. That's going to move likely into northern portions of Breckinridge County and affect Meade County as well. So that's why severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued for that core. And finally, we've got another one that's holding south of Owensboro. So at least 3 decent cores still embedded within this line segment, all off to the west of the metro, all traveling off to the northeast, and still rather intense at this hour.
And we were talking about that hail. Jay, look at this hail, and you can see 1, 2, 3. We were talking about those clusters of storms that we were seeing that we were the most concerned with on the southern portion of that line. And you can really see it. This tells us the story when you're looking at that hail tracker, an indication of some of that large hail. So there are 3 separate areas we are watching for the most powerful of those storms at this point. So that would be across areas of English, Tell City, right near Owensboro. So we're watching as that kind of southern flank pushes off to the north and to the northeast. The storms are moving at about 60 miles per hour. So we'll be watching that storm system continue to make its eastward to northeastward progression. I think hail and wind will be our primary concerns here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those storms a little bit closer and check out some of the winds here. It looks like we're seeing, again, some very strong winds, maybe just to the north of Tell City. Also some stronger winds showing up, looks like just outside Santa Claus as well. As far as the storm relative velocity with some of the spin here, Jay, something catching your eye there, right there, just outside Livermore?
Yeah, just some weak rotation, but the rotation seems to be coming down somewhat in these 3 cells, so that's good news.
And it may be just transitioning over, as we were discussing, to more of a wind threat with a hail threat, kind of your garden variety severe thunderstorms. That being said, Mo, you were talking about we've had a ton of power outages with these kind of garden variety severe thunderstorms as well. And we've also had some damage reports. I know that there was reports of a transformer fire into portions of Washington County, Indiana. And you were also just examining some of our social media platforms as well.
Yes, and the INDOT camera, if you want to pull that up on Storm Analyzer, you can see this is from Bird's Eye in Indiana, and that's I'm trying to get that camera moving. There you go. And you can see there's every once in a while you'll see some lightning flashes as the cars are going by. So yeah, it is very active out there. And so that is in Indiana, where the storms are still pushing through just west of, or just east of Santa Claus, Indiana. And this is, again, was on our INDOT cameras that we are using. And you can see just the torrential downpour. There's so much rain with some of the line of storms along with that wind. And I just wanted to also show you, if you pull up Lynx 3, you can see some of the rain totals just from the last 6 hours. There's areas that have already picked up over 1 inch of rain. And we're not done. Even though this line is passing through, we've got a second wave later, and a couple of the models picking up on 1-2 inches of additional rain when it's all said and done. I mean, Jay, take a look. And this is a very moisture-rich system that's going to be coming in later. So I feel like the rain threat is going to be even higher as we go later on this afternoon. So yeah, definitely not keeping our guard down. But it is coming down heavy right now over I-64 in parts of Harrison County, and then also pushing into Crawford County.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, later on this afternoon, that could be one of the biggest threats for the entire viewing area, the fact that we could be looking at some ponding on the roadways and some pretty heavy rainfall. All right, so to recap, here's what's going on. Nothing in the metro right now, still tracking a few storms off to the west and southwest that do have warnings associated with them, severe thunderstorm warnings for hail and wind gusts that could be upwards of 60 miles an hour or so. The storms off to the north in Scott County, Jefferson County, up through Jennings County. No warnings in effect. Those have weakened. Still some heavy rainfall, gusty winds in spots, but overall this entire line segment continues to slowly weaken as it moves off to the northeast. We still have the tornado watch that goes until 10 o'clock this morning. So from this point forward, what I'm going to do is hand off to Suzanne and Mo. I've been in all night, all through yesterday, and I could be coming back later this afternoon, so I'm going to try and get a little bit of rest. But I think overall, this first line segment is in a weakening stage. I think that trend will continue. There's the tornado watch that will go until 10 o'clock this morning. So Suzanne, take it away.
And we're gonna send it back to get to your local news as well. We've got a lot going on, obviously, in the news as well. Let's go ahead and just kind of do a little bit of a reset for you because we still have a number of warnings out there. So we've got that tornado watch that continues until 10 o'clock this morning. Now we're going to be watching for the additional threat of more storms that are going to be pushing through the WLKY viewing area. We still have a line of warnings here, so you can see those warnings that are right now across the southern portion of the WLKY viewing area. We have those 3 separate areas where we're watching for those warnings that are going to continue to make their eastward progression. Right now, we're concerned about the potential of some gusty winds out there, and we're also going to be watching, of course, for the potential of some large hail. These are very electric storms, and you know, Norman and Madeline, we are not done yet with some of that active weather.
Yeah, and you all have been working through the night tracking this. Thank you all so much. We do want to say good morning to you. If you are just waking up and you've missed part of this, we are tracking severe weather today. I'm Madeline Carter.
I'm Norman Seawright. Thank you for joining us already. I mean, we have the best weather team here in the area. I would say the entire country. I think I'm a little biased, but we'll just keep going with this today.
Absolutely. And we do want to check back in with you, Suzanne, just for a quick update for those who are just waking up. Where do things stand at this point?
Well, what we're watching right now, guys, is a line of strong to severe storms continuing to push through. This line of storms, unfortunately, caused a ton of damage down across areas of Missouri and Illinois. We have had some damage reports in our area as well. We've had reports of some transformer fires. We've had some gusty winds. We've also had some hail reports. What we are looking at as we make our way throughout the day is a couple of different things. This first batch of shower and thunderstorm activity, well advertised, of course, with the potential of severe weather. But as we make our way a little bit later into today, we are still going to watch for the threat of additional shower and thunderstorm activity. That will pose a different type of threat. I think it's going to be more widespread. It's going to be longer lasting, and we're going to be looking at the potential of seeing some very heavy rainfall. We have a lot of people who are going to be out tonight, and with those people that are going to be out, maybe with some of the basketball games, I want you to be very careful because we are looking at torrential rainfall that will be overspreading the region. Let's get down to brass tacks right now, show you exactly what's happening. We are watching for this line of gusty showers and storms. I'm going to paint on some of those warnings for you, and you can see for the WLKY viewing area, we now have warnings across portions of Harrison County, back across portions of Crawford County, and then down across portions of Breckinridge County as well. Now, in Breckinridge County, you're not currently seeing any rainfall, but this is for that storm system that you can see that it's just a little bit farther back out to the west. Farther to the north, there is a nasty line of storms moving across areas of Crawford County, moving into Harrison County. I'm going to go ahead and track these. I'm going to take the warning off just so that you can see this a little bit better. But this line of storms moving through areas of Marengo, pushing into Deputy in the next couple of minutes, is moving at about 50 to 60 miles per hour off to the north and to the northeast. So this particular storm will be near Milltown at about 6:27, DePaul at about 6:30, Palmyra at 6:37. At 6:42, you can expect that storm system to be near you in Martinsburg and Greenville at about 6:44. So again, we'll be watching that closely for you as that storm system continues to move through. So a number of warnings still out there right now. And of course, we've also had some reports of some damage and a number of power outages that have also been reported. So we're going to continue to keep you posted on the threat of more severe weather later today. And then we're also looking at Madeline and Norman, the potential to see some much cooler air coming back into the forecast. More on that coming up in just a few short minutes. Let's send it back to you.
Thank you, Suzanne. It's certainly been a long night for a lot of people, especially if you stayed up to watch a basketball.
You're watching WLKY Morning News.
Hello again. It's been a crazy morning as far as weather goes, so we're glad you're back here with us right now.
Yeah, it is a severe alert day, and our weather team is tracking this fast-moving storm. Suzanne, we know this storm has caused tornado warnings and watches to pop up across the area. Are there any still in effect?
Well, we still have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, and we also have a tornado watch that's in effect. So that watch will continue until 10 o'clock this morning. What we're looking at is kind of the southern flank of this storm system that is still producing a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. So let's get right into kind of the details here and what you need to know. So again, that watch continues. You'll notice that we have a line of severe thunderstorm warnings here. So that line is what we're watching really closely as we make our way throughout your morning hours. So you'll notice that we have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is for areas of Washington County, Harrison County, and Crawford County. We have been tracking this storm for hours here. So this is bringing us, I suspect, quite a bit of hail and also some gusty winds as well. You can see when we examine that storm a little bit more, I'm going to take the warning off, right onto Marengo, DePaul, right near Hardinsburg. You're seeing tremendous hail here. Now, as far as winds, yes, some gusty winds certainly cannot be ruled out with this storm. Perhaps a little bit of rotation. This storm is packing a punch as far as some heavy rainfall and hail. I'm going to put those warnings back on and show you farther down to the south. This is the storm system that we're watching for areas of Meade County and Breckinridge County. This is right near areas of Andyville in the next couple of minutes, heading into Battletown in the next few minutes. And then this storm here that we see right on top of Chambers is going to be moving into Cloverport right along 60. This is in Breckinridge County. So that's the other part of that storm that we're watching. And then farther down to the south and back out to the west, you can still see some of those stronger storms. So we're watching this entire line of storms as it continues to make its progression to the north and to the northeast. So certainly something that we're watching closely. That's one piece of the puzzle for today. The other piece will be more shower and thunderstorm activity that will likely develop later today. So you can see kind of that messy batch of shower and thunderstorm activity moving through during our morning hours. We'll have a relative lull a bit later this morning, but quickly on its heels, more shower and thunderstorm activity develops. We'll be watching for the potential of heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, and flooding concerns, I think, as we head into your afternoon and evening hours. So certainly something that bears close watching as we head into later today and into tonight. So rounds of shower and thunderstorm activity will be likely. Temperatures will be in the 70s. For tonight, we hold on to that risk of rain. And then for tomorrow, we're looking at much cooler air coming our way with highs back into the 50s with a few scattered showers and gusty winds also expected. Right now it is 6:36. Let's send it back over to Madeline and Norman. Morning, it is severe alert day. We are watching for a tornado watch for nearly the entire WLKY viewing area with the exception of Adair County. Bottom line, we're going to be watching for a line of strong storms moving through the WLKY viewing area. No tornado warnings at this time. Those have all been allowed to expire. However, what we are watching here, a line of strong and severe storms continuing to race off to the east-northeast, moving at about 55 miles per hour. So let's get into some of these storms right here. And you can see we have that line that's going to be pushing into areas of New Salem, also into Crandall, Borden, Greenville, Daisy Hill, Bunker Hill, and Leota within the next, let's say, 25 minutes to about an hour. So we're going to watch that storm continue to make its progression off to the east. It's moving at about 55 miles per hour. That is not the only warning we have. So this warning does include areas of Washington County, back into portions of Scott County, also into sections of Clark County, Indiana. Then as we move a little bit farther downstream, you can still see some severe thunderstorm warnings, including areas of Breckinridge County and Meade County. look at the hail that we are tracking here in the inside of these storms. Huge hail, likely on the order of about an inch or so near Andyville, near Beachland, near Addison and Lower, near Cloverport, pushing into areas of Breckenridge County. Also, a little bit farther to the north into Palmyra, New Pekin, Farabee, Salem, getting in on some very, very large hail at this point. A little bit farther downstream, we're also watching for these strong storms moving across areas of Meade County, back into portions of Breckenridge County. So these storms will likely contain some very gusty winds, torrential downpours, and as I mentioned, some large hail as well. And these storms are exhibiting a little bit of rotation as well, right on top of Andyville. No tornado warnings, as I mentioned, but some of these storms, even just when they're strong, are powerful enough to rotate. So we'll be watching that. So you can see another warning that continues down into sections of Breckenridge County. Farther down to the south for today, later today, we're going to be watching for a severe weather outbreak. But across our local area, we have already seen strong and severe storms. And our Mo Rose is tracking some of the damage that we have seen.
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. So we are watching for some of the damage, and I want to pull up our Lynx 3 product so you can see some of the pictures that are coming in. Now, this is just west of our viewing area in Du Bois County near Huntingburg, where a shed was blown over onto a car. We also got a picture of some of the hail that has fallen in Crawford County and Milltown. Take a look at the various sizes of hail. We've gotten reports of quarter-size hail just 3 miles north of Carefree, Indiana. And we're also hearing that a tree has gone down over the roadway in Kossuth, which is in Washington County, on Walnut Ridge Road, just west of State Road 135. And there's also just various reports of power lines that are down. A transformer blew in Campbellsburg, Indiana, and we're seeing power outages now. In Washington County, that's 500 people without power. But look at Orange County, 4,500, and that number continues to grow. In Lawrence County, just north of a viewing area, we've got 7,000 people without power. And this is the line that the storm system continues to push off to the east, already dropping over 1.5 inches of rain just in the last 6 hours. So since midnight, we've got 1 inch of rain in Washington County. And something you also have to keep in mind, this is just the first wave. We could have another 1 to 2, even 3 inches of rain when it's all said and done. So if you are in an area that does tend to flood easily, there could be some minor flooding concerns. You want to make sure that you are not driving through any of those flooded roadways, especially later on today, as we are going to get even more rain than what's moving through this morning. All right, Suzanne, back over to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's why we're concerned later today for some of the flooding. We're seeing torrential downpours. Again, a number of warnings that have been issued for areas into Scott County, back across portions of Washington County, and into Meade County, and into Harrison County. So we're watching that line of storms that will continue to make their progression. So you can see this is a healthy line of storms that we're going to be looking at. The northern flank of that storm system has weakened somewhat. Here's what we're taking a look at, kind of a messy mix of that shower and thunderstorm activity that continues to overspread our area. We will have a relative lull. I think we'll still be seeing some areas of thunderstorm activity, but we'll have some dry time for today before our next batch of shower and thunderstorm activity moves through our area. And this is when we're going to be looking at not only the threat of our seeing perhaps some additional strong storms, but also, as Mo was talking about, the potential of our seeing unfortunately, some flooding concerns as well. So we're going to be watching that as it continues to move through. If you're headed out tonight, please keep that in mind. For today, we are looking at temperatures in the 70s. It's an unsettled, severe alert day for us. Then for tomorrow, we are cooler with temperatures in the 50s. We're in the 60s for St. Patrick's Day. Another chance of our seeing some rain, it looks like, by midweek, and that will set the stage for some much cooler air to come our way. Let's send it back over to Norman and Madeline. Good morning, I'm WLKY meteorologist Suzanne Horgan. Just a heads up here, the Derby City 10K has been postponed until 8 o'clock this morning. What we're watching right now, some very healthy storms moving through the WLKY viewing area with a number of warnings that have also been issued. We have a tornado watch that will continue until 10 o'clock this morning. What we're seeing here this morning, several different clusters of severe thunderstorms moving across areas of Meade County, back into portions of Harrison County, all the way upwards into portions of Clark County, as well as sections of Scott County, where we're seeing torrential downpours at this time and likely some gusty winds as well. So you can see right along Interstate 65 into the Scottsburg area, and then back over into Floyd County, we also have a warning at this time. This is the line that we are going to continue to monitor. Notice that kind of curly Q backward C shape that we're seeing with some of those storms that will contain areas of gusty winds. We have seen damage reports a little bit farther off to the west with winds gusting the upwards of about 60 miles per hour, and also quite a few reports of hail, a lot of large hail, even covering the ground in some locations. So likely a rude awakening on a Saturday morning. Notice that line continues to stretch all the way back into portions of Breckenridge County. So this line will continue to push eastward as we make our way throughout the morning hours. And in doing so, will continue to bring us the threat of strong to possibly severe storms. Then as we head a little bit later into the afternoon hours, we're watching for that additional threat of heavy rainfall with some gusty winds. We will, of course, continue to monitor this on air and online at WLKY.com. And good morning. Right now, we're coming up on 7:12. We're just letting you know about some additional warnings that have been issued. It's been a very active overnight for us. We've had areas of hail and wind reported. Let's get into exactly what's happening right now, because we now have a severe thunderstorm warning that does include Jefferson County, including the Louisville area. You can see here, this is where that additional warning has been issued for areas of PRP, Shively. We're going to be watching several different storms that are going to be rolling through our region as we make our way throughout the day today. What we're watching right now, again, a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. You can see kind of going down the line here, we have clusters of shower and thunderstorm activity moving through. So this is going to be moving throughout areas of Floyd's Knobs, moving back across areas of Harrison County through Meade County, as well as into sections of Breckenridge County this morning. We're looking at the potential of some very heavy rainfall and also, of course, some gusty winds and damaging winds potentially as well. So this is something that bears close watching. I'm going to take the warnings off here to show you these storms a little bit more clearly, and you can see exactly where they are. Moving across areas of Charlestown, we're seeing some very heavy rainfall right along Blue Lick. This is going to take you right through Interstate 65 through Clark County, Indiana. Back out to the west, moving across areas of Greenville and Brineyville, but notice into the Georgetown area, right along Interstate 64. This is where we're seeing a very healthy line of storms continuing to push on through. And then farther down to the south, we're seeing some additional thunderstorm activity that has also prompted warnings across areas of Breckenridge County as well. So this is the line of storms that we're watching very closely. You can see moving across areas of southern Harrison County, moving right near Dogwood. I suspect we're seeing quite a bit of hail in that particular storm. What I'm going to go ahead and do is kind of dissect these storms for you a little bit, and this really shows what's going on pretty clearly. You'll notice we are seeing areas of very large hail right into portions of Corydon, back across portions of Brandenburg, into Charlestown. You're also going to be seeing some of that hail as well. This is what is being picked up in the upper parts of the atmosphere. Some of that is going to fall and melt. And as it does so, of course, we're going to be hearing that pinging on the rooftop as well. So if you're waking up early this morning and you're hearing some gusty winds, you're seeing quite a bit of lightning, that is the reason why. So bottom line, it's going to be a very active day for us. Now, we have a tornado watch that will be in effect until 10 o'clock this morning. Right now, we don't have any tornado warnings. That being said, these storms have had a history of putting down lots of wind and also quite a bit of hail as well. So certainly this is what we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for. You can see some of the hail that was showing up from earlier. This is actually from areas of Meade County. You can see some of that hail pinging off and all of that lightning as well. It almost looks like snow is covering the ground here. So that's from Meade County, part of that storm system that was moving through and continues to move move through. And this line of storms has had a history of putting down some damage as well. You'll notice again, we are seeing a number of warnings right now. In the metro, there's not much going on here into the Louisville area, but I do want to point out that as we take you into portions of Floyd County, we are seeing some very healthy storms here. So this is moving across areas, you'll notice, of Interstate 64 right near Duncan, back across portions of Georgetown, right near Buchanan. I suspect you are seeing very large hail here. As we take a look at the shear, there is a little bit of rotation that is also showing up here as well. As we take a look at some of the wind speeds, you can see some fairly strong winds as well. So we're going to be watching for the potential of some gusty winds and, of course, some of that very large hail as well. In fact, take a look at that hail mosaic, especially across areas of Lanesville, back across portions of Corydon into Central, near Laconia. And we're also seeing some areas of very large hail across portions of Cloverport. So a number of warnings still issued. When we take a look at the big picture here, you can see those warnings as we go ahead and paint those on for you. You'll notice moving across areas of Floyd County, back into portions of Jefferson County with that storm. I'm going to track this storm for you. It is moving to the north and to the northeast at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. So let's get you in a little bit closer here. And you can see that notch here. That's a little bit concerning. That's just to the south of Duncan. So let's track that storm. Mo, Rose, do you have a little something to add here?
Yeah, you know what? They just added a warning to that and extended it into Jefferson County and parts of Prospect, so in parts of Oldham County, and this has got golf ball size hail. That hail core is intense, and this is moving very fast. We've got winds 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and it's moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. These things are flying, and so you might think, oh, I'm so far away from the storm, but look at over Goshen. You almost have that wind field is reaching you guys ahead of the storm, and that storm is going to be over you very soon. Are you have access to the storm track, Suzanne, if you want to take a look and see how quickly this is going to be reaching into Clark County? Are you on links? Oh, you're on links 1. If you want to pull up links 3, I can show you. This thing is moving at 60 miles per hour off to the north and east, and that is going to be in Prospect here pretty quickly. I would say by Goshen is going to be getting hit by 7:33 this morning. Charlestown, Indiana, 7:26. And this is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is not a tornado warning, but there are some very large pieces of hail falling from this, golf ball size hail, according to the radar in this warning. And also with winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, that can also cause a lot of damage. And there's some also heavy rain. So if you do need to go out this morning, I know a lot of folks are going to be heading towards downtown for that Derby City 10K. That got pushed back to 8 o'clock this morning. But at this point, I suspect there might be even a further delay just because of the way this line is moving into the metro. You just got to be so careful if you have to be out driving in this. The best bet, I would say, wait until this line passes you before you hit the roads this morning, because with the winds gusting that high, you don't want to be driving on the highways, getting caught. There's semis that are trying to move on the highways, and that could be problematic. We haven't heard of any overturned vehicles at this point, but at one earlier viewer sent us a picture where a shed did get blown onto a car. So these winds are very powerful this morning. So you just got to be very careful if you do need to be out in this.
Yeah, and Mo, that's such good advice, because obviously we've had those environmental winds that have been very strong over the past couple of days. But for this morning, we are dealing with some of those strong and severe storms that are going to continue to pass through. Mo, I'm wondering if we're able to pull up maybe some of those INDOT cameras that we have that could better show us what's happening in southern Indiana. You can see some of the damage that Mo was showing us with some of the power outages as well. So we're going to be watching for some of those storms continuing to move through. I'm going to pull up some of our Trimark cameras here this morning, and you can see this is on the upper deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge, and every once in a while you can see some of those flashes of lightning here this morning. So bottom line, if you're just waking up this morning, here's what we have going on for you. We have a tornado watch. That tornado watch does continue until 10 o'clock this morning. Right now, we don't have any tornado warnings, but we have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, including in the metro here this morning. So that's, of course, why we've been tracking these storms all night long for you. They do have a history of putting down some very strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We've had reports of transformers that have been blown and also some downed power lines as well. As we take a look, you can see we're watching for a number of different warnings associated with this line of thunderstorms passing through the WLKY viewing area. This is the batch that we're watching very closely for you. The storm that I think is really bringing us some fairly strong winds and also quite a bit of hail is this storm that we're seeing right here, right along 64 in the Lee Hamilton. We're going to be watching for that large hail showing up. Mo, are you pulling up something?
Oh, yeah. Pull up Storm Analyzer Radar. I want to show you the intense lightning that is going on over Floyd County right now. It's like a strobe light over I-64. So this is the storm that's currently warned. It's just moving through the knobs right now. And there's just a ton of lightning. And this is also a lot of hail. You can see there's quite a few cars that are moving through. You got to be so careful if you're driving in this, especially if you've got ping pong size hail. And I also want to point out that this is falling at a higher level when they scan it. So it could melt on the way down, but still there is not that much space between where it's falling and the ground for it to melt that much. So there are going to be people driving through this. I'm expecting to start seeing possibly accidents. So if you can just avoid being out on the roads, that is going to be safer for you.
Most definitely, Mo, and thank you for pulling up that in-dot camera for us, showing us back across areas of 64, some of that torrential rain and some of that hail. This is one of our cameras that we have downtown, and we have it pointed over onto the western horizon. You can see a real light show that is showing up here this morning. So, and I know, Mo, if you want to pull up some of those hail pictures, I'm going to track some more of the storms, but if you want to pull up some of the hail pictures that we had from earlier this morning showing some of the ground truth, some of the thunderstorm activity that we saw from earlier this morning, that would be amazing. You can still see, again, a number of warnings here that are going to be issued across portions of the WLKY viewing area. So we have warnings that go all the way down into portions of Breckenridge County for you. And these storms are moving at about 55 miles per hour. Now starting to scoot into sections right along the Ohio River. This will be pushing into the Dixie Highway area, a little bit closer over to PRB, into Valley Station in the next couple of minutes. If you're waking up this morning, you are likely hearing a lot of thunder out there, and you're probably hearing some of that hail on the rooftop. These are all severe thunderstorm warnings. We don't have any tornado warnings. Those have all been allowed to expire. On the northern flank, we have seen a weakening of these storms. On the southern flank, that's where we have seen some of those stronger storms that have shown up. And Mo, you want to show us some of the pictures that we had from the hail?
Yeah, so this came in from Milltown in Crawford County, and there's just various sizes in this viewer's hand that they sent to us. And this was from the storm that moved through maybe an hour and a half ago. But we're also getting reports in Meade County, receiving damage reports to vinyl from hail in Painville, Regalia, in a couple of spots in County there. Also hearing that there's quarter-sized hail near Floyd's Knobs, and that definitely makes sense because look at the hail core over Floyd's Knobs right now. That storm is the warned storm that's going to be pushing into Clark County and then pushing also into northern Oldham County. Yeah. So we're going to be watching that one closely, and this thing is flying at 60 miles per hour. Yep, and you're looking at it, you're tracking it right now. So if you are in the path of this storm, you're going to want to stay away from windows. Stay indoors. Do not go out in this. It is safer to just wait until this storm passes.
Oh, most definitely, Mo. Good advice there. And we were talking about the track of this storm. So it is moving right through the knob, 725. That's just seconds away. That's going to continue to push off to the north and to the northeast. So Floyd's Knobs back into New Albany, heading into the downtown Louisville area, PRP Valley Station. We are all under the gun here as far as some of that very large hail that we are expecting to see as this severe thunderstorm moves through. I'm going to go ahead and dissect this storm for you a little bit. I'm going to take off off the warnings, excuse me, the track that we're dealing with and kind of get into that storm. Blackiston Mill, Graysville, into New Albany, into the Portland area. Let me go ahead and pull up some of our Trimark cameras here to give you an idea of what we're seeing here, because we have this on top of the Sherman-Minton Bridge. So this is the traffic that you can see that is heading into southern Indiana from Kentucky. And this just gives you an indication of what we're dealing with. That rain is coming down in buckets here, and we're seeing a light show with constant strikes of lightning here. So this is that severe thunderstorm that we're watching pushing across areas of the Knobs back over into sections of downtown Louisville. Let me pull up some of our downtown cameras and show you what's happening here. A little bit difficult to see. Obviously, we're still dark at this time, so it's a little bit more of a challenge to pick up some of that moving through. Here's what we're talking about. You can see all of the warnings. We have a tornado watch until 10 o'clock this morning. What we're watching right now, though, those severe thunderstorms that are continuing to push through areas of the WLKY viewing area. I'm going to pull up a few more of our Trimark traffic cameras for you to give you an indication of what's happening out on the roads here. This is at 65 at the Horse Barns, and you can see you're doing just fine. As we move you over into the downtown area, a little bit closer over to 2nd and Main. Guys, we have a lot of people who are heading downtown for the big race this morning. That has been postponed, but you can still see we have a lot of people out there. And I believe our director was going to point out another camera that we have to show you what's happening out there this morning. So obviously it is difficult to see here. This is the camera that's pointed westward, and you can see all of the lightning strikes here this morning. So what we're talking about with all of the warnings that we currently have at this time, the severe thunderstorm warning that does continue for areas of the metro this morning. So again, number of warnings still out there going back across portions of Breckinridge County at this time. So we will be watching these storms as they continue to push through the WLKY viewing area. Those are all of the warnings. It looks like they've been extending the warnings out a little bit to now include areas of Linden, Jeffersontown, Fern Creek, over into Eastwood, Linden, Crestwood. You're all under the gun at this point as far as the severe thunderstorm. I'm going to take off those warnings so you can see this a little bit more clearly. And you can see right on top of PRP, I suspect that you are seeing quite a bit of very large hail at this time. Mo, have we had any social reports of any of that hail? Because it looks like into PRP and Valley Station, we are going to be dealing with lots of really large hail at this time.
Yeah, we are getting reports of hail, especially from that storm that just moved over the Knobs with a quarter size there. But just from the National Weather Service, getting some reports just from spotters saying that there's large hail being reported. There's also, let's see, quarter and golf ball size hail in New Albany near Melwood Drive area. And that is, I can probably get a couple of those pictures put up here just in just a little bit. Nickel size in Sellersburg. This is all that's the system that's over, or that storm that's over Sellersburg right now. If you are sending us these pictures, if you want to send us, please do, but also do it as long as it's safe for you to do so. We don't want you to be running outside in these storms in order to get us pictures. It is safer for you to be indoors and away from windows, just because these wind gusts could take down a tree, and that could go straight into a window or onto the roof. We just want you in a safer place. But we do appreciate some of the pictures that are coming in, and we will share them shortly.
Yeah, and Mo, we want to go ahead and do a storm track on this northern part of the storm heading into Utica in the next couple of minutes near Glenview, also Goose Creek, River Bluff, Green Spring, Goshen at about 7:35. So a fairly potent storm system that's continuing to race off to the north and to the northeast. I want to track the southern flank of this storm. It is bowing out a little bit, sometimes an indication of our seeing some of the stronger wind gusts and some rotation here. So this is right along areas you can see of the Gene Snyder and Dixie Highway into PRP, Parkwood. So this is an area, I think, of pretty significant concern here this morning, right near Waverly Hills, maybe heading over into areas of New Cut Road in the next couple of minutes, just to give you some perspective here. This is PRP here, this is Parkwood, this is 264, and then this is Interstate 65, and then the airport's right here. So we're going to be watching this area right here very closely, because this is a location where we're seeing that some of that bowing out here, potentially an indication that we're seeing some of those stronger winds, and we might see some rotation with this particular storm as well. I would imagine that you are seeing quite a bit of large hail into the PRP area, heading into Parkwood, a little bit south of Hunter's Trace, so right along Dixie Highway. So obviously this is a pretty potent storm moving through the metro at this time. We've seen obviously lots of hail. So this is one part of the storm. As we take you farther to the north, we're seeing obviously some large hail into portions of Sellersburg, back across portions of Speed as well. Let me show you this. You can see pretty clearly where those areas of large hail are showing up here this morning. Back across areas of the Knobs into Valley Station. So this is going to be a little bit behind when we're talking about hail. So it is probably moved a bit farther off to the east at this time. But bottom line, we are looking at large hail involved in this storm. Let me go ahead and dissect this storm for you a little bit. See about that storm relative velocity. We are starting to see some rotation showing up here. Likely some very strong winds are also going to be picking up across some sections of the WLKY viewing area here as well. When we take a look at some of our cameras, this gives you an indication of what's happening right now. So this is on the upper deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge. Notice the rain is coming down in buckets here this morning as we take a look at a few other locations. So this is downtown Louisville, and obviously we have a huge event going on downtown here this morning with the Derby City 10K. They have decided to postpone it until a little bit later this morning, and you can see it is pouring buckets here. It's very messy out there this morning. So we're going to continue to watch for this severe thunderstorm moving through the metro at this time. That rain is pouring down. It is nearly constant lightning out there. Another perspective here as we give you a live look at a few other areas with some of our downtown cameras. You can see the rain is coming down very heavily at this time from this camera here. So this is our downtown camera from the Sheraton, and it is lighting up here this morning. So we're going to be watching for, again, these strong storms moving through. Just a quick little recap here to let you know what's happening. So we have that tornado watch. The tornado watch will continue until 10 o'clock this morning. So we're watching for the potential of some strong to severe storms. We are seeing a number of warnings that have been issued across the WLKY viewing area here, including for the metro. So you can see two big boxes, primarily for some hail and some wind. It's not out of the question that we see some rotation with some of these storms. We don't have any tornado warnings at this time, but what we're watching very closely is the potential of large hail, and I shouldn't even say potential because we've already seen some large hail with these storms as they continue to move through. They are moving very quickly. That in itself can be somewhat problematic because you have not only the forward motion of the storm, but you also have just the strength of some of those winds there as well. So we're watching this line here, that northern flank here across areas of Clark County. Our friends in Prospect, if you're in Goshen, this is when you need to be watching for this storm to head your way. Back across areas of Louisville, downtown Louisville, back across areas right near the airport, probably Okolona the next couple of minutes. I'm going to get in a little bit tighter here and show you what's happening as we zoom in a little bit closer. So where we're seeing two areas, I think, of concern right into the Prospect area near River Bluff, near Harmony Landing, Oldham Acres. You are about to see a lot of hail there. Then you can see through the downtown area, what we're dealing with is mainly just some heavy rainfall. Then right by the airport and a little bit farther down to the south, this is where we're seeing a pretty significant hail core at this time. This is the other area where we're likely seeing some very strong winds, some rotation perhaps also showing up right along Gene Snyder and 65 back across the airport. That's where we're seeing that hail, and then some very strong winds here. So where I want you to be on guard, Okolona back into Newburgh, perhaps West Butyl, you're about to see this come your way. So we're going to be watching this line of thunderstorm activity moving through. We do, of course, have that severe thunderstorm warning that continues. Armo Rose has been pulling in some of our social media information with some of our storm reports. We had some power outages earlier. As these storms are moving through, Mo. They're moving through a really heavily populated area. So I suspect we're getting quite a few storm reports.
We are getting reports, yes, Suzanne, in Clark County, 1 1/4 inch hail reported, and we're also getting some pictures, and I wanted to show you real quick on Links 3, if we can pull that up. In Floyd County, this is some quarters. Actually, it's bigger than a quarter. That looks like some golf ball size hail in New Albany, and these reports just continue to come in. Some of the high winds that we got at one point blew down some power lines. So we've got some roads that are closed this morning, and I just wanted to let you know about those. This was in Washington County, where State Road 56, State Road 337 is closed in both directions because of down power lines and trees. Now that's in Washington County. We're getting reports from our photojournalist, Scott. He sent us some hail in PRP. We're going to get those pictures up, and I'll show you. And there are some very large pieces of hail. We are just watching these very, very strong storms. And the two that we are most concerned about right now, I'm seeing some rotation in that one that's over Oklahoma. If you take a look, Suzanne, we're seeing those colors start to intertwine here over by Oklahoma, heading towards Highview. And these winds can be gusting up to 60 miles per hour. So if you are within these blinking yellow boxes, I'll put them on the screen, you're going to want to be away from the windows. You want to be inside. You don't want to be out driving in this. Where you're seeing all of these areas in dark purple and black, that is some really intense hail cores.
Oh yeah, most definitely, Mo, and we're going to be continuing to watch for this. And as you mentioned, some rotation showing up. That's where we were talking about that earlier this morning, where we were seeing sort of that backwards shaped C that we were watching really closely. So let's go ahead and get to our WLKY Doppler radar and show you exactly what we're talking about here. So we have those warnings that still continue for areas of Floyd County back into across areas of Clark County into Oldham County now and back into Fern Creek. So let's go to Links 1 if we could and show you exactly what's happening here. So you'll notice as we take a look, certainly across sections of southern Indiana, you have gotten much quieter here. But this is an area that we're watching really closely because we're seeing some very strong winds, at least being sampled by the radar at this point into the Highview area. That is likely very overdone there in the upper parts of the atmosphere at 90 miles per hour, but still just an indication of some of those really strong winds that we're seeing. Also watching for some rotation showing up here this morning as well across areas of Newburgh and Fern Creek. Oftentimes what you have is a situation where even just some very strong winds and strong storms exhibit some rotation with them. So this is what we're watching here right on top of Okolona. We will likely get a very good sampling of what's happening there because it's happening right over the airport. If you're in Audubon Park, if you're in Watterson Park, this is where we're continuing to watch for likely quite a bit of hail and wind here as this kind of bows out here through Okolona. Heading into Newburgh, this is going to be pushing into Hurstbourne in the next couple of minutes here, back across portions of Rolling Hills. And then as we take you a little bit farther up to the north across sections of Prospect, you are likely seeing that severe thunderstorm coming your way as well. So you can see that if you are right along 42, so this would be bringing you into areas of Goshen, back across portions of Skylight in the next couple of minutes. You can see you're going to be dealing with quite a bit of hail here. Now, a little bit farther back out to the west, you've really calmed down here. So these storms are moving at a clip here. Bottom line, watch for hail, some very strong winds. Notice the notching here, sometimes an indication of some of those strong winds that are going to continue to be pushing through our area. So again, watching for not only that hail threat, but also that wind threat. Speaking of hail, our meteorologist Mo Rose has some pictures of some of the hail from this storm.
That's right. If you pull up Links 3, I wanted to show you. Now, this came from PRP. Our photojournalist, Scott Eckhart, sent this in, and this is just covering his backyard. We also got a message from our meteorologist, Matt Milosevic, and he says that there's about 1.25 inches hail covering the ground in Prospect right now. That's right off of 42. So, yeah, I mean, this is ground truth right there. That hail core is right over around the 42 corridor near Goshen. So it's definitely putting down quite a layer of hail there. There is more hail. This was from New Albany and Floyd County. That is golf ball sized hail. This is from Crawford County earlier this morning in Milltown. And some of the winds that were with these storms when it was just outside of the viewing area to the west, it was throwing sheds onto cars. This is a photo from a viewer in Huntingburg, or right near Huntingburg in Du Bois County. So these storms are no joke. They are moving fast, and hopefully we can get it out of here. If there's any good news, they are flying.
They are. And Mo, I'm wondering if maybe we should pull up some of our Trimark cameras out ahead of this line so we can watch that line coming through. You can see here, this is the line that we're watching closely, the strongest part of that storm right here, right on top of West Butyl, heading into Hurstbourne Acres, 743, right into Jeffersontown at 744, into Wildwood at 745, also into Linden at 745. So this is that line that we're watching right here. Let's go ahead and track the northern section of that line for you as well, because again, this is kind of a two-parter for us, unfortunately, where we're seeing two areas of very strong thunderstorm activity here this morning, unfortunately, where we're looking at quite a bit of wind energy and also quite a bit of energy as far as the hail. So just an indication of the strength of this dynamic storm system. You know, it temperatures in the 80s yesterday. We've been in the 70s all morning. This line of storms here, this is the northern portion of that storm. 742 for Goshen at Owen at 744, Skylight at 745, right near Russell Corner at about 751. Again, this is going to be a hail threat. Our meteorologist Matt Milosevich from home is letting us know that he is seeing large hail at his house up in Oldham County as well. So again, we're going to be on the lookout for some areas of very large hail associated with this particular storm system. Let me go ahead and dissect that storm for you and show you the huge hail that is showing up here this morning. Obviously, this hail tracker, this will show you the history of some of that hail. And this is showing us where we have seen all of the hail from earlier this morning. As we go ahead and sort of sample this storm system, I told you there were two areas where we're watching that hail the most closely. And it's right here where we're seeing, at least sampling from the radar, the potential of 3-inch hail in Goshen. Obviously, we're not seeing 3-inch hail falling, but 1.5 inch hail right near Jeffersontown reported by the radar. Just an indication of the strength of this storm system, obviously containing some hail. And I think our Mo Rose has some Trimark cameras for us this morning.
I do. So yeah, let's pull up Links 3 real quick, and I'll just show you. This is downtown, actually, and the storm actually just passed this area. This is where they have the streets starting to block off because of the Derby City 10K that got postponed till 8 o'clock, and that's what we're still hearing, is that it's supposed to still take off at 8 o'clock. However, that line continues to push off to the east. We're trying to look at some spots around the city, and the winds. This is out by the Gene Snyder and Westport Road. It is just about there, Suzanne. If you're, we're looking at, I'm trying to watch how the storm is progressing along the Gene Snyder, and this is a view out by Westport Road. You can see the flashing lights in the sky from the lightning. This is out by the Waterston and Westport Road. The rain is already there, and it is coming down pretty heavy along I-64. Now, this is just now getting to 64 out by Hurstbourne, and it's going to continue to push out by Blankenbaker, and then out to the Gene Snyder and 64. Trying to pull up a couple of different camera options for you so you can see, Suzanne, especially out by Blankenbaker. It looks like it is still dry right here.
Not for long, though, right?
I mean, it is coming.
In fact, let's go ahead and track that storm for you as it continues to make its eastward progression mode. Appreciate your showing us those cameras, really giving us an indication of what we're dealing with here. If you're in Hurstbourne, right along 64, heading a little bit closer over to the Gene Snyder, heads up there right along Hurstbourne. So this storm is going to be right near Jeffersontown right now. Lake Forest at about 7:45 this morning, near Valhalla at about 7:47, Long Run at about 7:51, and Todd's Point at about 7:54. So again, this is a potent storm that we have been watching very, very closely for you with that hail. And you know, Mo was showing us the Trimark cameras. You could see a lot of people had their hazard lights on as well. So let's switch over to that Trimark camera if we're able to and show you what's happening there, because is this the Blankenbaker camera?
This is just moments ago it was dry, and now that line is just pushing over the Blankenbaker Parkway cameras, and we're probably going to be seeing some hail falling if we can even see it through the rain. I mean, these are some torrential downpours here along 64, and this is the camera at Blankenbaker Parkway. Yeah. And yeah, just moments ago, completely dry. We could just see some flashes of lightning in the distance, and now it's going to be tough to see the roadway.
And you know, Mo, you're showing us that with that live camera there from 64 in Blankenbaker. Let's show you it on the radar here, because you can see we are dealing with quite a bit of that heavy rainfall moving right through Douglas Hills, through Middletown, through Hurstbourne, through Jeffersontown, and also some gusty winds likely with this particular storm. So this is moving. This is the Gene Snyder right here, okay? And then this is 64. So that's where they were doing all that construction for like a year. But again, we're watching for that storm to continue to push off to the east into Middletown, likely into Lake Forest. Anchorage, you're probably rocking and rolling at this time with some of that hail. Right into Jeffersontown, right along Taylorsville Road, you're seeing some of that. So it's just pushed through areas of St. Regis Park and also into Linden. The good news is these storms are moving relatively quickly. So once they pass you, you'll have a little bit of a break. But again, let's show you kind of the big picture here. Right into areas of Oldham County. Guys, you are likely seeing quite a bit of hail. That's going to be heading into areas of LaGrange in the next couple of minutes through Russell Corner. I know you probably got an early morning wake-up call that you didn't want, right? Early on a Saturday. This is the storm system into the metro right along 64 and right pushing a little bit closer over into portions of 64 in the Gene Snyder right through LaGrange Road here. So very heavy rainfall and lots of hail. So a couple of things to keep in mind. We're not done yet. We're going to see this, and then we're going to be watching for another batch of shower and thunderstorm activity. And Mo, you've gotten some more pictures in.
Well, I do have a picture from PRP, and that's from in Jefferson County from our photojournalist Scott Eckhart. But I also wanted to point out the camera that we've been watching on Trimark. Cars are now stopping. I suspect that the hail is now hitting the ground there. We're seeing traffic flowing fine, and now there's a bunch of cars pulled over, a lot of hazard lights on. So that's just to remind you, if we want to pull up, I'll show you on our Trimark traffic cameras. Just as a reminder, you do not want to be driving through this. This is a view of 64 where that hail core just went over, and all the cars are pulled over. We've got a lot of hazard lights on. It's just not something that you want to be out and about in. Now, this is flying through, so this is going to be out of here within the next half an hour, at least Jefferson County. This is going to continue to just race off to the east. But then we have more later. We're going to be dealing with a very moisture-rich system that's going to be lifting over us, dropping even more rain. So it's something else you want to be aware of. If you live in an area that floods easily, you got to be super careful, because there's going to be even more rain later on today.
Yeah, that's right, Mo. And we're going to be watching for that tornado watch to continue until 10 o'clock this morning. You'll notice that they have shaved a number of counties off the tornado watch. What we're looking at right now, again, lots of heavy rainfall, lots of large hail here. We have 2 separate severe thunderstorm warnings, and it is quite a light show for us here this morning. Moving across areas of the metro and then back across portions of Oldham County. That's where we currently have those 2 warnings at this time, with these storms that have certainly put down quite a bit of hail. We have seen that up close and personal with some of the photos. Incidentally, we love getting your pictures. We so appreciate your doing that. Let's get into it, show you exactly what's happening here. You can see we are watching for a potent line of those storms moving across areas of Lake Forest, back through Valhalla, through Eastwood. Some rotation also showing up here. When you get some rotation showing up here on the radar, sometimes it's an indication of just how strong the storm is. And this is a powerful storm. This is a storm that is containing large hail, gusty winds, and torrential downpours. This is going to be moving right along Shelbyville Road. So that's Shelbyville Road right there. That's the Gene Snyder there, and that's 64 right here. Okay, this is Shelby County, so that's going to be moving into areas of, let's say, like Todd's Point in the next couple of minutes. Then this is Oldham County that you're seeing up here. So we're watching for this to continue to make its progression. It's moving very quickly to the east. to northeast at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. So once that moves through here, we should have a little bit of a lull in the activity. It's short-lived, though, because then another batch of shower and thunderstorm activity moves through. That will likely contain some areas of very heavy rainfall. Guys, I know we have a ton of people heading out for basketball games, and we're going to be really mindful of that as we make our way throughout your evening hours, because we're going to be looking at torrential downpours. Okay, so let's show you what we've got going on here. I'm going to dissect this storm for you a little bit, show you what's happening. These are an indication, these little bright purple and black dots here where we are seeing that really large hail here. So Russell Corner moving likely over into the Campbellsburg area in the next couple of minutes. Right along Hurstbourne and 64, that's where we've seen that large hail here. For our friends in PRP Valley Station, you were letting us know about that large hail that you were dealing with as well. As we sample the atmosphere here and take a look at some of the velocity signatures, you can see we're dealing with some pretty strong winds here, it looks like, into areas of Lake Forest, right along Shelbyville Road, potentially 50, 60 mile per hour winds. So certainly some very strong, excuse me, strong winds showing up here as well for us this morning. Showing you a look at some of our Trimark traffic cameras. You can see it's very wet out there. I'm going to pull up our camera that we have that's right at the Jefferson County, Shelby County line. Mo, you got something to add?
Oh, I just wanted to show the view right now. This is out by Hurstbourne. Oh, we just moved it. This is the amount of water that just fell. These people are hydroplaning right now. Let me see if I can pull this up on the Trimark traffic camera now.
We've got it. That's the Hurstbourne one, right?
Yes, there we go. If you look near the center of the screen, there is a huge puddle. Look at that. Look at the waves that are coming up with those cars.
This is what she's talking about.
Point this out, Suzanne.
Oh, I was going to, we'll switch it back over to that one with the Hurstbourne camera if we could, and we can show you that. That's what she's talking about right here, right, Mo?
Yes.
It's a huge pool of water right here.
It is yes, and if you've got a couple of cars on either side of you and you hydroplane, that is going to be a big, big problem. And with all of the water that's fallen very quickly, there are some places with poor drainage that will flood very easily. So you have to just be so careful if you are going to be out driving through that storm or immediately after. And then we have more rain coming later, so I suspect we are going to be seeing more water in the roadway. So just be super cautious if you have to be outdoors.
Yeah, most definitely, Mo. Let's go ahead and show you what's happening right here. So we have those severe thunderstorm warnings, and we're watching for two lines, basically. So this batch up here, and then this batch farther down to the south, moving right through Eastwood, pushing into areas of southern Oldham County, also moving into northern areas of Shelby County, through areas of Oldham County here. This is Shelby County here, and then that's obviously eastern Jefferson County. Back across portions of Trimble County, you're seeing some of that heavy rainfall as well. Likely also seeing some hail involved in this storm. So again, this is something that we're going to be continuing to track for you this morning. Once this batch moves through, then we're going to be watching for some additional shower and thunderstorm activity to come through. Let me go ahead and put this into motion just to give you some perspective. And you can see as we head throughout the morning hours, it's going to continue to hopefully lighten up just a little bit before that next batch moves through. Mo, what do you have?
Oh, well, I wanted to show you some hail that came, that just fell over Oldham County in Goshen. This just came in about an inch. Size hail, but there are other spots that are getting so much more. Just take a look. It just looks like snow in some parts of Jefferson County. Look at all of those hailstones. This comes from our photojournalist Scott Eckhart and PRP, and we are starting to get more and more. I can barely keep up with the pictures that are coming in, but I'll keep sharing them with you. If you do have any pictures, you're welcome to send them to us, you know, online if you want to email them to us or on social media, but only do so if it is safe to do so, because I don't want you running out in a hailstorm where there's an inch and a quarter hail, because that's dangerous. That will injure you. So yeah, please just wait until the storm passes before you send any pictures.
Yeah, and Mo, we're of course wanting everyone to always stay safe. That's why we're here. So this is the storm that we're watching here. Let's go ahead and get you the very latest on the warnings. Notice that some of those warnings have been trimmed back a bit. So still including areas of Oldham County, still including portions of Shelby County, And also, as we take you into portions of Henry County and Oldham County, that's where we're seeing that very heavy rainfall right now, the very strong winds perhaps 50, 60 miles per hour. Mo, as that storm moved through over the airport, did we get a report on any wind gusts when it was moving over Oklahoma?
Let's take a look, yeah, because I do believe we were just getting some 5-minute observations here. So that just passed over Muhammad Ali International. Winds gusting up to 48 miles per hour, 69 mile per hour wind gust.
Yeah.
That occurred at 7:38.
Okay, so that's when we were tracking that storm as it was moving through Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's incredibly powerful. If it wasn't already a severe thunderstorm warning, that wind gust would have triggered it for sure.
Oh yeah, and it did trigger. I mean, it was out before that because remember we were tracking that through PRP, and then as it was going through Okolona. So you can see this storm is going to be heading into Long Run, Chestnut Grove, Cropper, over near Baghdad. And Mo, so we've had reports of hail. Have we had any reports besides that airport report of any wind?
Just high winds damaging transformers. We've had power outages in Campbellsville, Indiana. We are getting so many hail pictures too, and I so appreciate them coming in. I'm looking at one. I'm going to try and get this on. Get this uploaded for you guys. In Corden, just an incredibly large hail. That looks bigger than golf ball size. What you're seeing on what you're seeing right now is Trimark and very flooded roadways. But let me try and get this picture put into a graphic for you guys so you can see. And this was in Corden. So hang tight there, Suzanne, if you want to track the storm that's now going through probably Campbellsville here in just a short order.
Yeah, that's right. And this storm, it looks like it had weakened a little bit before it fired back up, which can sometimes happen on the northern flank. This storm is going to be moving out of the metro in the next couple of minutes, but the northern part of the storm we're now watching really closely. Look at all that lightning that's heading into the Campbellsburg area. That's going to be moving into sections of Port Royal, also into Carrollton. You're getting in on the action. So let me go ahead and track this for you. The northern section of this, again, this is going to be moving out of the metro, the southern portion of that. So this is moving at about 50 miles per hour, basically to the north and to the northeast. So quite a bit of hail showing up in this particular storm. You'll notice we're seeing that heading into Newcastle at about 8:03. Turner Station at about 8:03, right near Port Royal at about 8:09 this morning. As that line of strong storms continues to make its eastward progression, be prepared. If you have a second, if you're in the path of that storm and you can pull your car in the garage, probably a good idea, because take a look at some of the hail that Mo is showing us.
Yeah, so this is over on our Lynx 3 product. If we could pull that up real quick. Harrison County, this came in from a viewer. There are very large pieces of hail here, all different sizes. And I think just because some of these storms that are, you know, a little bit longer, they're staying alive a lot longer, these hailstones are just being kicked around in the upper atmosphere. And so they're bouncing into each other, they're melting, and then they're refreezing and just getting bigger and bigger. So the longer these hailstones stay up in the atmosphere, the larger they're going to be. Now, they are going to be falling through warmer temperatures, so there will be some melting that occurs. But by the time that is still hitting the ground, that can do some damage to your rooftops, to your cars. So as Suzanne mentioned it, if you have a carport or a garage, you probably want to put your car in there because those are big hailstones and those will do some major damage.
Yeah, only if you can do so safely, though, Mo. Okay, so let's get you the very latest. This storm is now moving out of Jefferson County, moving into areas of Shelby County. Where we're seeing, I think, the strongest part of this storm at this point is back across areas of Henry County and into portions of southern Trimble County. You are seeing quite a light show here this morning. This is going to continue to push off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. This warning continues until 8:15 this morning. So again, torrential downpours. It is a tremendously electric storm that we're seeing right here, likely dealing with some gusty winds and likely dealing with some areas of hail. If you're in the metro, for the most part, you're clear. Great idea to postpone that race, certainly, because obviously we had a severe thunderstorm moving through the metro. So hopefully they can get that race off. Everyone's shoes are going to be waterlogged, though. So what we're looking at here, again, this is all dissipating. They're going to trim this back, I would imagine, in the next couple of minutes here. And then you can see, again, this storm holding on to its strength. It's going to continue to push off to the east and northeast at about, let's say, 50 miles per hour. And Mo, you're showing us that we had some almost looks like snow on the ground over in Harrison County.
It does. That's actually not Harrison County. I'm just rebuilding this one graphic. But no, this was actually in Clark County. And this took place. We got a viewer sent this in. This was in Sellersburg. So yeah, that's something that I want you at least to be careful of. You don't want to slip and fall. It does look like a whole bunch of ice. So yeah, and everyone keeps sending them in, and thank you so much. Just if you are going to be sending in pictures, please do it safely. This is on the Lynx 3. If you want to take a look, just covering the ground there. Is that not wild? Those are smaller pieces of hail, but there are areas where there's even larger hailstones that have fallen. And winds, we are getting reports. We had that wind gust out at Muhammad Ali International at 69 miles per hour. Clark County Airport had a wind gust that was 56 miles per hour with this storm. So yeah, this thing is flying. The winds are strong, but it is pushing out of the viewing area in short order. Now it's making its way into Shelby County and pushing through Henry and Trumbull and Carroll County right now.
Yeah, that's right, Mo. And so we're going to continue to watch that push through. I think it's now 8 o'clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to monitor this severe thunderstorm warning that we have until 8:15 this morning. We'll, of course, be on air, online. Bottom line, we're looking at more storms as we make our way a little bit later into the day. That will transition to certainly a flood concern for us, and also still the potential for us to see some severe weather. Good morning. Right now it is 8:57. I'm WLKY meteorologist Suzanne Horgan. The good news is the tornado watch has been allowed to expire early. We are much calmer after a really rough overnight for you. As we go hour by hour, you can see we're going to unfortunately still look at the risk of additional shower and thunderstorm activity coming our way. Most areas have trended drier now, but we're going to add to that risk of rain, especially for this afternoon and this evening. We are going to be on the lookout for the potential of some strong storms and some pockets of heavy rainfall. As I mentioned, most areas are now dry after seeing those booming storms with tremendous hail. We had winds gusting the upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Now we're still seeing a few scattered rain showers out there. Not a big deal. No warnings at this time. However, as we head throughout the rest of the day, we are concerned about the potential of seeing more strong to possibly severe storms. Notice where you see that yellow shade there. That's level 2 out of the 5 risk categories as far as our severe weather risk. Certainly farther down to the south, the concern is for a severe weather outbreak across areas of Mississippi and Alabama. We're going to be timing out our chances of seeing those strong to severe storms, and also looking at some much cooler air coming back into the forecast. We'll see you coming up at 9.